year, it doesn't make sense that there's like tsunamis that take the lives of like many more people every year. It doesn't make sense that the sun emits UV radiation, which gives us skin cancer. None of these are a result of people's free will. Like if someone is unalived in an earthquake, they're not choosing to like be unalived by that earthquake. They just are.
Okay. And so I think when it comes to stuff like this, with God being real or not real, it's gonna take faith on either side.
So it sounds like you don't have a response to that. So you're backing up to that you don't have any evidence, you have no answer, but you're going to believe it anyway.
Okay, so before we get into that specific comment, because I think we're both what you just said, we're quite technically both doing the same thing.
No, not at all.
Yeah, because you're telling me stuff that you can't prove. You can't prove to me a singularity because you told me it's a theory. And
Yes, but we have lots of evidence for a singularity.
No, you have a lot of evidence.
I have no problem giving you the
theory.
evidence for the singularity. That's like really easy for me. In
Look,
fact,
I have
already did
evidence.
that.
I have quote unquote evidence that an Illuminati might exist, and that doesn't mean an Illuminati exists.
Yeah, but we have we have scientific evidence that the singularity could have been the explanation. We have no scientific evidence that the Illuminati exists.
There's a lot of scientific evidence of stuff that's happened in the Bible that's been.
But this is just going to be a pivot away from like earthquakes and skin cancer.
Okay, yeah. So we can get into your earthquakes and stuff. So
because, So is God the cause of earthquakes?
God is the creator of the world. So yes.
Okay, so if God causes something, is it good?
If God causes what?
If God causes something, is it good?
If I don't that question, I don't know. Like you're really good at asking.
Do you think God is all good?
I think God is all great. Yes.
Yeah. So if God is all good, then if he causes something, is it going to be a good thing?
I think it's just.
Okay. So, and you agree that God causes earthquakes. So you would say that earthquakes are just.
I think they're natural. Yes, they're just. It's not. Do I believe that people who died from it deserve to die? No. I feel like that's what you're trying to imply, and that's not what I'm saying.
Wait, so how can earthquakes be just, but also it was unjust for the people to die in them?
I didn't say it was unjust for people to die. I'm not.
So do you think it's just? So when an earthquake kills, there was like an earthquake in Indonesia that killed 227,000 people in 2004. Do you think that the deaths of all these people, including like babies and newborns, do you think that all this was just?
No.
Okay. But do you agree that God is the cause of this earthquake?
I believe that God is the cause of everything that happens. So yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you also said earlier that if God causes something that it's just. So if God causes something it's just, God caused this earthquake, but you don't think this earthquake was just. So you need to reject one of these premises.
Well, I need to reject the fact that, well, you keep asking me, do I think the earthquake is just? The earthquake itself is something like in this world today, I'd say, oh, that's unfair. I'm sorry. I'm not happy that people die, but it's not something that I think is like, I feel like you're trying to make me say something that's not what I'm saying.
Well, but your worldview entails a contradiction. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand, is that there's a contradiction in believing that everything God does is just, believing that God causes earthquakes, and also believing that earthquakes are not just.
Okay, so, but what I said earlier was that bad things happen in this world, not because God is unjust, but because of what we did in the very beginning of when we were created.
Okay, so I think I already explained my like issues with that God is like the cause of, he set the punishment regardless, so I still think that he has moral responsibility. But I think that there's like even a more fun objection to the Adam and Eve story. Do you think that incest is ever moral?
Okay, so I know exactly where you're gonna go with this, and I just will like to point out before anything is said and before we even get into that nowadays in current times, no. But to an extent, and let's just say like, okay, the world, just started whatever. To populate in the very beginning, you would need to be doing that.
So you would say that incest is moral sometimes?
No, because now I'm not saying it's moral. I'm saying
yeah, but like sometimes includes the past as well. So you would say that incest is moral sometimes.
No, I'm not gonna sit on here with
But
a
so
thousand
sometimes
people and say
includes the
that I think
past as well. So is incest ever moral?
I'm saying that it happened, and whether or not I think it's moral has no type
Wait,
of.
it's a yes or no question. Is
But
incest
that
ever
has nothing to
moral?
do with God being real.
Yes, it does, because if we agree that incest is immoral, there's no time where incest was ever moral, God forcing Adam and Eve, or like their children specifically, to reproduce via incest means that God is forcing them to do something immoral, that he's giving them contradictory commandments, both go out and reproduce and fill the world full of humans, and also do incest, the thing that I think is immoral.
So, so you're trying to. So okay, for one, I'm because this is such a subject that I don't want to specifically say with so many people watching, but I'm gonna just get into it. Incest, for one, is something bad that we created as us, as a culture. We said, okay, incest is bad. We came to come to that. So for me to think that has no proof to say, oh, I think it's wrong and God did it, so God is wrong. That's not how that works because we as a people came to think that
Yeah,
incest
but
is wrong.
this is just not an answer to the question. Is incest ever moral? It's a yes or no. Either yes, incest was moral at some point or is moral now, or no, incest was never moral. There was never a time where incest was moral.
Like I keep telling you right now, I don't think that incest is moral.
So your answer is that incest was never moral.
To me, but that doesn't matter
But
because
okay, so to God, do you think that incest was ever moral?
I don't know God's thoughts.
Oh,
All I
okay.
know is that
Well,
he,
I can tell you God's thoughts because it says in Leviticus that sibling incest is immoral.
okay.
Yeah. So from that, would you agree that God thinks that sibling incest is immoral? I can't hear you if you're off the app, by the way.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I was lagging, but you said what book was it that you said you said Leviticus?
Yeah. That where is it? Yeah. So Leviticus 18:9. You are not to uncover the nakedness of your sister.
Okay.
So would you agree that to God incest, like sibling incest, is immoral? I mean, the alternative is that God doesn't think that sibling incest is immoral, which opens up an entire other can of worms.
To that, all I can say to you is that incest that was happening all that while ago was happening before Leviticus or before it was commanded that we shouldn't do that.
Oh, so are you saying that goodness and badness doesn't exist until we're actually like given the commandments?
Goodness, I'm trying to. Sorry, I'm not. I'm just trying to understand your question fully.
Yeah. So you're saying that incest wasn't bad until we were given the command to not do incest. So are you saying that in order for something to be good and bad, that God needs to tell us that it's good or bad?
Well, that early on in life, yeah. Not nowadays because we've come so far as a civilization, but back
Okay,
then,
so you're saying that goodness and badness didn't exist until God actually like spoke them into existence.
no. What I'm comparing it to is like, let's say you have like me, I have a little baby sister. If she jumps off the couch and hurts herself, and I tell her this is wrong, she may have not known that until I described that being wrong to her.
Okay, but did God always know that incest was wrong? Like before he created humans, did he know that incest was wrong? Even if Adam and Eve and their children didn't know?
Well, for me to tell somebody not to do something doesn't always mean that it's technically wrong. More so, it's we don't want you doing it no more.
That's just a yes or no question. So did God know before he made humanity that incest was wrong?
I think that I don't know what God's plan was, but I think that if I had to look what happened, I would say it was something that he felt was needed to reproduce, and then after a certain amount of time, didn't
Why?
want it
No, it's
happening.
not. That's not true at all. He could have just made like a very populated Earth.
Right, but we've already discussed that he could have done so many things, and that no matter what he did, you people, not people like you, but people who are against him would still exist. So we can't play a what if game of he
Well,
could have
yes, we
done this.
can. Wait, answer it. Like, if you're, this is just like a cop out to excuse you from having to answer like the tough questions that you're just saying, like, well, even if there is a contradiction, I mean, if there wasn't this contradiction, you would just complain about a different contradiction. Probably true, but alas, it's like kind of irrelevant.
Well,
Like the thing that I'm just
you're trying to
asking
get
you
me to
is,
talk about.
did God know that incest was always wrong? Like right now, today, does God know that incest is wrong?
And I'm telling you that I'm not in God's head, and what I'm looking at from the Bible. He used. He told us that it was wrong, and up until then, it was a normal thing. It was what people were doing when there was only two
Yeah,
humans on
but
the
that's
earth.
like normal doesn't determine morality. So if God determines morality, he didn't just say like do the normal thing, because that includes lots of things that he didn't want people to do. He actually gave lots of restrictions. But so you have, I just want to be very clear, you have no idea whatsoever whether or not incest right now today is immoral.
No, I said that to me today. It's
No,
immoral.
no, but to God, does God know that incest is immoral?
I like so with you.
It's a yes or no question.
I don't know what God would say on you on. I mean,
Okay.
he said that it's immoral in Leviticus, like you pointed out. So yes, then that means from Leviticus on, we knew that God didn't want incest in the world. From
So does
Leviticus
God's
on.
knowledge change?
Well, here's the thing. What I keep trying to tell you, I don't think it was something where it's okay, this is wrong and I don't ever want them doing. I think it was he just wanted us to stop doing it.
So are you saying that this is not an answer to the question though? Does God's knowledge change? Because you're saying right now God knows that incest is immoral, but
No, I'm saying that he
before
did.
Leviticus, God did not know that. So, or you don't know if God knew that. So I'm just going to ask you, does God's knowledge change?
No, I don't think that God's knowledge
Okay.
changes
So
because
if right now today God knows that incest is immoral, we would also say, because God's knowledge doesn't change, that God knew at the beginning of time that incest is immoral.
so if let's say, because I mean you're trying
Thanks so much
to
for the hand heart.
I get what you're saying now. So you're saying that God says in Leviticus don't do it, but allowed it in the beginning, and that's contradictive. Is
Yeah,
that what you're
yeah,
trying to get
that
at?
God knew incest was immoral because his knowledge doesn't change, and he knows that it's immoral today. So we knew that when God was commanding them to go forth and repopulate, that God knew that the only way that they would be able to repopulate is via incest, and that he knew incest was wrong. So from this, we would just like very simply conclude that God commanded them to do something that he knew would entail doing something wrong, that there's no way to fulfill the commandment without actually doing incest.
Right. And so my what I would say my reasoning is to that is because I don't really like. I'd really rather you us talk about something else because I feel like you're trying to make me say that incest is moral. But I'm just gonna go ahead and
Well,
say that I think
I just want like a theodicy for the contradiction that God is all good, but he's commanding people to do things that necessitate they do evil things.
no. So if so, my what I'm trying to tell you that I think happened because I won't know for sure, obviously, but I just think that that it's not something that God would have said today is it moral or immoral. I think it's something that he allowed and then said didn't want to happen anymore. Not because this is some whatever. I just think that it happened and he said don't let it happen anymore. And I think it's just as simple as that. I don't think it goes
So
into
when do you agree that Adam and Eve, the only way that they could have reproduced is via incest? Or
that
no, not
Adam.
Adam, but their children rather. I'm sorry, that their children could have only reproduced via incest.
I mean, the natural way, yes, but God obviously is all powerful. He could have just made another human
Do you have any evidence that he made another human?
from the way he made Adam and Eve.
Yeah, that Adam and Eve are not the only humans God made.
I'm not knowledgeable of that. No.
Okay. So there's no evidence that Adam made or that God made other humans. It's only the only ones that we know he made are Adam and Eve.
Yes.
So if these are the only humans he made, that the only way that they reproduced is with each other, and that they would have had children, and the only way that their children could have reproduced is with each other,
Right.
which means that Adam and Eve's children must have necessarily come about, or like must have necessarily performed incest in order to actually reproduce in the first place, in order to make more children and fulfill the commandment that God gave them in the first place.
Yes. So saying the same thing, that it would be incest in which they went on to have kids and more people populate the earth. I agree with you.
So did God know that his commandment towards them was going to result in incest?
That his commandment to what, be fruitful and multiply?
Yeah, that would result in their children doing incest.
I guess, yeah, you would have to.
And did God know, as we established earlier, that incest was wrong?
Sorry, can you repeat? I didn't hear you.
And did God know, as we established earlier, that incest is wrong?
But this is where we disagree, where I just told you that I don't think
You
that...
disagree that incest is wrong?
Here you go again.
Or that like God knew that incest was wrong?
No, I already told you that I think he allowed it and then said he didn't want it to happen.
Yeah, but did he know that it was wrong? That's the
It doesn't,
question.
but that's the thing. Then nothing has to be wrong or right for someone to say, I don't want you to do something.
Yeah, but did God know that incest was wrong? It's a
We
yes or
think
no
incest
question.
is wrong because we don't do it anymore.
Did God know that incest was wrong? It's a yes or no question.
I don't. If God knows everything, whether or not it's wrong is quite literally an opinion. He stated that it will be wrong past Leviticus, and that's just it. I don't understand where we're going with
Well,
this.
but it's not an opinion if God does it. Like if God believes something or if God knows something, that's not an opinion. That would just be like God, like objective reality, because God's perspective is going to be the true reality. So, and there's like a double bind here. There's like one of two scenarios is true. Either God, when giving these commandments that he knew would result in incest, God did know that incest was wrong, which means he's a hypocrite, that he forced them to do this thing that he knew was evil. Or God did not know that incest was wrong, in which case you would have to conclude that incest is not wrong because God does not think that it's wrong. Or you would have to say that like God changed his mind at some point in time, which means that God's knowledge would change, which contradicts your earlier statements. All paths lead to contradiction here. You're off the app, by the way. I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I just, I think what, like, this whole incest thing, it just goes into, like, you know, nowadays, incest, I don't know, bro. Like,
Well, we're just talking about like in that, because this is a disproof for the existence of the Adam and Eve story, that he would have had to do other stuff.
So, with incest specifically, like I keep saying, bro, it's one of those tough ones where I don't want, because I feel like I know what you're trying to get me to say, and there's so many people in here that I don't want to say it, and it's taken the wrong way. But with that incest thing, before Leviticus, I feel like incest back then and now are way two different incest. Nowadays,
But do you think that incest was ever moral? Like back then, do you think that it was a fine thing to do?
I think that it was acceptable back then.
Oh, so you think that so if I said the statement, incest is never moral, it was never moral, you would disagree with that statement?
I would say that it was once moral.
Okay. To me, like that's just the reductio. Incest is never moral. And if God gave this commandment in Leviticus, God knew that it was never moral, because God knew that incest, specifically the reproduction with your sister, could never possibly be a moral thing to do.
I mean, I guess we can go. I don't know. I just feel like the incest that you're trying to talk about today is different from the incest back then. Therefore, it's
In what
not,
way is it different?
well, for starters, incest today, probably 90% of the time is a rape scenario.
That's true, but like, why is like sibling incest immoral?
Sibling incest is amoral because Well, I mean, if you want to be really technical, it's immoral because it's illegal. It's not. That's what we're
Oh, well,
told now.
that's not a good standard for morality.
Right. I know, but I'm just being technical. Obviously, I think in my head, off of my feelings, that it's not something you need to do. But I'm just saying that
Yeah, but I'm
technically.
just wondering, okay, wait. So what was the difference? What's the difference today between I actually asked the complete wrong question. So what's the difference today between like incest with siblings and the difference back then between incest with siblings?
Well, I already said the probably the biggest difference is that today, for one, there's multiple different people that you could have sex with. Two, I think that I already said one prior. Today, incest is probably 99% of the time rape.
Yeah,
Which
yeah, but I'm just asking like in like a sibling where they consent, even though I do think that it's still immoral if people consent and like conceive children. But in a scenario like what's the so the difference is just going to be that there's like multiple people now that so it seems like your problem is just going to be necessity that incest was acceptable back then but is not acceptable today because of necessity. So who made it necessary that there was only one family in existence? Who made it such that there weren't many families that such that we didn't need to rely on incest?
so your question is who made it so that they all they could do was incest?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're what you're looking for is God made, like, I don't know, you asked me that, but we already know, like, I'm not going to shy away from it. God made the world. So if in essence God made it like that.
Yeah, so it sounds like God forced incest to be like he was the one who forced them to reproduce via a situation of incest. Okay, wait, actually, also, I don't think necessity dictates morality. Like, do you think that it's if I'm like about to starve to death, do you think that it's immoral to like unalive someone and eat them? Like, let's say that this is like the only way I could possibly do it. That it is like if first for my survival, it is necessary that I do this. Would that mean that it's moral to do that thing?
I, so, yeah, no, it's not. I don't,
Okay, cool. So the necessity doesn't dictate morality. So just because it was necessary for Adam and Eve's or like children to reproduce via like like sleeping with their siblings, that doesn't mean that it was moral, even though it was necessary.
yes. So, but like even this example that you gave, in my opinion, that's all like subjective because if somebody to the person that ate, so let's say it's me and you had to eat me to survive. Me, obviously, being eaten, I'm going to be the one that is going to say that is wrong because murder is wrong, no matter what. You're going to say, I had to survive, and I don't think it was wrong. It was my only option.
Oh, so morality is subjective?
I think, but I mean, all rules in the world are all subjective. We had rulers that said an eye for eye, right? And today we wouldn't say there's an eye for eye.
Cool. No, I agree. Morality is subjective. W, massive W. That's just incompatible with Christian worldview is the problem.
And how is that?
Because God would be your objective standard. You would say that morality is objective in the Christian worldview.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Because God is in the Christian worldview, God is the objective standard for morality.
Yeah, so I don't agree with that because I think that everything that God does has been moral or has reasoning or has just.
Wait, so you don't think God is the objective standard for morality?
No, I do. But I'm saying
Okay.
like,
So then you think morality is objective, not subjective.
well, objective with God, I think it's subjective amongst us.
Oh, cool. I mean, that's like fine, I guess, but I'm just talking about like from God's perspective. He created this scenario that he believes to be immoral, or he doesn't, in which case, like, in which case that's like a reductio in itself that God thinks that there's scenarios where incest is like totally fine.
Shying away from that just because I don't want to, like I said, well, as people here get into incest ever being okay, is there something else specifically in the Bible that I couldn't get doxxed for talking about on here.
That you couldn't get doxxed?
Yeah, I'm not doxxed, but just later on, because this has happened before. I've had this conversation before with somebody with the God isn't real, and they bring up that, and it's not something like, I feel like you having that on the background, you're supposed to tell me why definitive proof God isn't real, and you haven't really done that.
Yeah, well, but I have, because I've the reductios have been given. If you don't think that they're reductios, then that just means that you're agreeing to absurd positions, like there were times when incest was moral. Incest was never moral. Sibling incest, making children who have like a 50% chance of having birth defects, that's not a moral thing to do. Like if you were to have a baby and you were drinking heavily, and you gave your kid fetal alcohol syndrome, that's like a super immoral thing to do. Incest is never moral. It was never moral. And you have to defend that there's a point in time where it was moral, or you need to say that God forced Adam and Eve to do a thing, or forced their children to do a thing which is immoral. Those are your options.
Right. So I guess with this whole incest thing, I mean, like I said, I guess in today's world, all of us, there's not one person, unless they're sick, that would say that incest is immoral. And I just think that when it comes to God, him saying in Leviticus that he doesn't want us to do it anymore is not him contradicting himself when he allowed Adam and Eve and the early humanity to do it. I just think that was his way of making them do it. And then he didn't want us to do that anymore.
But you agree that like he could have just made the world such that it didn't have to happen.
Yeah, I agree that he could have single-handedly with his finger. Instead, if he's all-powerful, he could have just made more humans with his finger in the world rather than making people sleep with each other.
Yeah, so why didn't he?
Well, again, that's not me. I can't tell you why God didn't do something because I'm not God.
I mean, it seems like God, then you'd have to conclude that no matter what the reasoning is, God did create a scenario where the only thing that could have happened is incest. But we've been talking for a while, so I should probably move on to the next guest. But I do appreciate you coming on up here.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Make sure you're double tapping on that screen. Let's get to 160K. Stream's going pretty well so far. Make sure you're dropping a follow as well. So you never miss a single live. You can always catch the next one. Make sure you're joining the Discord as well. Link in bio. I've been told that the link doesn't work, so you might need to access it via a web browser. And with that, we can go to the next guest. But make sure you're sharing it with your friends, dropping a comment as well. It's good for the health of the stream, you know? Damn, guests have just not been joining lately. It's sad. All right.
Yo.
Hey, what's up? How's it going? How old are you?
I'm 33. We spoke before.
Okay. And do you think God is real?
I think God is real, yes, but not the way people describe it.
Oh, wait. So what religion are you? Because I only debate people who have like a specific religion.
Well, I mean, technically I have a specific spirituality, but I don't use the word religion.
So what's the label for your spirituality?
Religion is just a word that describes repetitive actions.
Because I'm not like super interested in debating
spirituality
people who just like made up a spirituality.
No, I haven't made up a spirituality. I started off as a Christian, then I went to studying different religions. I've studied Buddhism, I've studied Hinduism, I've studied many different religions, but I wouldn't say that I'm aligned to one specific one. I studied them all.
So do you believe in the God of the Bible?
No. No.
Do you believe that Jesus is God?
No.
Okay. Do you believe that Allah is the last prophet?
No.
Do you believe that the Israelites are the chosen people of God?
Chosen? I wouldn't say chosen. I would say they were the last created people of God.
God created the Israelites?
Same way as he created everything else.
But you said that
Everybody
he was the
created.
last. You said that he was the last
They were the
These are like
last
the last
people
people that God
created.
created, but you're also saying that God created everything else. So it sounds like these actually aren't the last people that God created.
Yeah, there's more. There's more people, but it's hard to explain in a linear path.
I mean,
But when
it like sounds kind of like nonsense. I don't know. Like,
I mean, I can elaborate. I can
yeah.
explain.
So just like, what's the proof that your God exists?
Okay, so my proof is okay. First, we'll have to start with the word God. God is just a word that describes a being that's all powerful, so called all powerful. But the same things you were struggling with, right? Like you were saying, if God is all powerful, how can he create a rock that he can't lift? Like that's the same basis I have come to before. But the thing is, the words that divide us is what keeps us from finding out the truth. The
Oh, so
truth is,
well, that's just preaching. Like this is just saying, like, well, you raised this objection, and I've thought about it before, but this objection is just getting in the way of you converting to a religion. That's not an argument at
no,
all.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying you're very close to finding out the truth, and religion is what keeps people from finding the truth. The thing is, God is not a person. Even in the Bible that certain people follow, God never showed up as a person. He was
If
a
God's not a
bush,
person,
he
could
was
I
a
abort God?
voice. He was a person that said, I am, therefore I am, then disappeared. And none of these things are humans.
Okay, so do you think that God is like the creator of the universe?
I think it's either the God that people describe or it's another God.
Okay,
As
but do
far
you
as
think
what
that
I
this, so if
consider,
this God
I
is
don't
all
consider the
powerful,
God of the Bible as like the true God because I know the Bible, like literally the Bible, was rewritten and controlled in order to control slaves. Like it was literally made in a certain way to control slaves. That is the only point the Bible even exists for. King James
no,
himself
that's
was,
not true.
yeah,
The so like there was like a slave edition Bible, but this is not like they did not replace like the Bible overall with like the slave edition Bible. There are Bibles from regions that never interacted with the concept of slavery, who had
that's the
Bibles
thing. They
before and
weren't
maintained it
called
after. Like
Bibles
that's
though.
just not true. But regardless, so I guess I'm interested in your answer to the question that you were positing before. So do you think that God could make a rock that's so heavy he can't lift it?
Yes.
So and then could God lift that rock?
Eventually, if he decided to, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The same
So God
way.
both can make a rock that's so heavy he can't lift it, and can also lift that rock. So you would say that God can make a rock that's both so heavy he can't lift it, and also that he can totally lift it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then
Because
that's
number
just a
one, I feel as
contradiction. So
though,
do you think that God could like make it so that he doesn't exist and also does exist at the same time?
yeah,
Okay.
easily.
Okay. Yeah, God could easily make it such that he doesn't exist and exists at the same time.
So existence is something that's perceptual from us. If you're outside of existence,
No, but I'm not in like a
existence is
different
just a
sense.
thing.
I'm not asking like could he make himself exist in one sense and like not exist in a different sense. I'm asking like the same sense of the word. Could God make himself exist and not exist on whatever like
And
plane or dimension of being?
that's the thing where I say these words is what divides us.
Wait, but
We
that's
only
not an answer.
understand
It's
the
a yes or no
spectrum that we
question.
can
Could God both
understand.
make it? Could God make it so that he both exists and doesn't exist?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess like that. So this is just obvious nonsense on face, but
I mean,
I'll do another
I
one because
understand
I think they're fun. Or maybe I'll do two more. So can God make atheism true?
possibly, yeah. But what I was trying to get at was that existence
Wait.
and
He possibly could.
non-existence.
God could possibly make atheism true.
Yeah, I would have to literally mentally get to the fact of it being possible. But before I do that, I'm talking about the word existence. Non-existence is only something because we have the word existence, but there's no proof of nothing. In this world, there is no proof of nothing. There is always something. You can't have nothing. There's no way to have no thing. There's air, there's particles, there's quantum mechanics. There's no such thing as Nothing.
Nothing
Yet
is just
we
going to
have
be
the word.
contextual for like the lack of a thing.
Exactly. And that's when
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
where
So
the
if I said like, do you, how many, uh, I don't know, like how many times have you been charged for like child rape? And then you would say zero, hopefully, and then we would agree that in terms of like the evidence that you've raped any children, there is nothing.
so you're saying zero is not a thing.
Well, I
Again,
mean,
the
zero
word
is
confuse
nothing. Zero
us.
is just like the absence of a value.
It's a thing, but it's a thing. It's a
I
word, right?
suppose, yeah, like
It's a
kind of. But
vibration coming
this
from
is
a
just
mouth,
like a
right?
weird like word game. Like
I mean, I
I
understand what you're saying.
I'm like
You're
kind
not
of
understanding.
uninterested in this art. Like, do you have like an actual argument for the existence of
Yeah,
your God?
yeah. That's what I wanted to get to, but I was just a little jumbled by listening to all these other people talk, and I wanted to elaborate on their things. And a lot of them are stupid. Like they don't use any type of science or study any type of anything. They're just reading the Bible. The thing is, even the Bible tells you seek ye knowledge first.
Wait,
So
I just need you to. Do you have like an argument for the existence of your God? I'm
yeah,
not really interested in like the meta commentary.
yeah. So the way I believe everything comes from something. Therefore, all
Cool.
energy came from a source of that energy. We know for a fact that energy does not dissipate. Therefore, God could only be the source of that energy. For us to say the source of that energy is a singularity, would that not be God?
No, no, because God specifically is something that's all powerful. The singularity is
That's
not all
somebody
powerful.
told you that though. Who
But
said
yeah,
that that's true?
you told me that. You said that the way you define God is as a being who's all powerful. The
I
singularity
said
is not
that's
all
how the
powerful.
word defines
That's
God.
these are the
I
words
do
that you
not
use.
define.
This
I
Oh,
literally
wait,
say
so do you
the
think
Most
God is
High.
real?
I believe I don't like to use the word God. I say the Most High because I believe it's a vibration of energy.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to someone who has like real things to say. No, that's just like extremely boring to me.
Hello.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Hey, I have a question. Do you know about Taoism?
I do.
Okay. I wonder what you think about like spiritual religions
I
and stuff.
don't think so. I actually do. Taoism forms like a large part of my metaphysics. However, uh, I don't believe in like any of the spiritual aspect of it. I believe
Yes, yeah,
that like
exactly.
we put stuff into categories, that these categories don't exist absolutely. Like we just made them up ourselves. But I don't believe in like anything other than that from Taoism, basically.
Yeah.
I also like I would just ask you because it sounds like if you're a Taoist that you probably don't believe in like a god specifically. Is that true?
No,
Like,
but I also have some things to say about God.
well, wait, but I'm just looking for people who believe in a god. If you only request to join if you believe in a god specifically. Hey, what's up?
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing good. How old are you?
I am 21.
And do you think God is real?
I absolutely think he is real, yes.
Yeah, which god specifically do you believe in?
I am a Christian, but I don't agree with certain things on the like of the Bible, you could say, because I feel like it's been manipulated by men like across time, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So, would you have any proof that the Bible is true or that the Christian religion is true?
Uh, yeah, I mean, not necessarily Christianity, but I can give you some points about how God is real. You know,
Yeah, sure. So, why is
I
God
think
real?
I'm like for me, it's I'm a Christian, but I personally do not like disagree with you could say Buddhisms and Muslims because like all of that. Those are in reality stories that have been made up across time. You know, but I think there are some certain facts that can prove that God is real, and I
Yeah,
hope I
yeah.
can
That's
try and
fine. So,
convince
I'll just
you.
ask you, like, what are the facts that prove that God is real?
So, like, I guess we can start off. I'm sure. I mean, you look like you're a very intellectual person, and you have a lot of information if you've studied this for a while. So I'm sure you know what like the God like the like evolution, like the five steps, the five major steps of evolution have been since like you guys were talking about Adam and Eve. all of that those are just stories that tell us that we are sinners, and that's why we are placed on this earth, and that's why we don't have free will necessarily to like control our fate. Like, you can do whatever you want. but,
Wait,
like
wait.
you were saying,
This sounds like gibberish to me. So what?
Oh no, it's
So
not.
I
Let
just
me,
want
let
you
me,
to finish the sentence. God
all right, all right.
exists because.
So, okay, yeah. God exists through evolution. We can see it as like how we, from basically germs, have come into existence across billions of years of evolution. So, how do you explain the major changes in evolution with scientific facts? Because I've tried to look this up and there is no explanation. The only explanation is evolution. But I think that's a divinity that gave us amphibians, mammals, and intellectual, just be us being intellectual beings, like across evolution. How would you explain that? I don't know. It's like hard to explain. Do you understand what I'm
So
saying?
yeah, I mean, kind of, but this is like we can just have evolution without God versus like evolution with God. There's no reason why we wouldn't just like prefer evolution without him. But specifically, how we went from single-celled organisms, prokaryotes, to multicellular organisms, eukaryotes, and eventually to species is just because there's evolution fills the like many evolutionary vacuums, that there is great utility in being a creature who is multicellular and big and capable of consuming other things like plants, which are multicellular and big. That there is just lots of survival incentive in order to take forms like humans or amphibians or reptiles, that these specific species evolved that way because it's advantageous for them to have done so.
Absolutely, but absolutely, I agree totally with you. But the things that I seen this Morgan Freeman show about like the evolution of all species, as you know, like we basically all come from this particle, like across billions of years of Earth. There have been,
Like the singularity or what?
yes, it is a singularity. Yes.
Yeah. So what about the
Yeah.
singularity?
Yeah, exactly. So like I guess what I call the divinity of God is how all these evolutions of all these different types of species played into like making them perfect on how they're supposed to be today. Like, our bodies are perfect. Like, not even just our bodies. Like, we can also take another step into some math and physics, you could say.
Wait. No, let's stay right here.
Okay, okay.
So no, not every species is not perfect. And this is like easily discernible by the fact that 99.9% of species have gone extinct. Nearly every species that has ever existed has gone extinct. If it was perfect, then how do we have so many extinctions?
That is very valid. We've had many extinctions because I guess those species have lost their purpose on Earth. Like, they no
Do you think
longer
they just like lost their purpose? So you think like
Yeah.
the dodo bird like just lost its purpose?
Yeah, I mean, like, and not only that, like, that's why, like, these are we're talking about like animals here. These are not the evolved, like, they never took the evolution that the step in evolution that we did, which gave us intellectual, I guess, intelligence, just like intelligence to have our own thoughts and our
What do
own
you
emotions.
mean when you talk about like an animal having purpose or like an animal losing purpose? Like, I have no idea what that means.
That is something that I said, and I realized that was wrong. They just no longer they what I meant to say is that they no longer took that step that we took in evolution. You know what I mean? Like, our step in
No?
evolution was
What?
like we evolved and we became intellectual beings. They did not. Do you understand?
What? So you think that the only things that can survive, like humans can go extinct as well, to be
Oh,
clear.
absolutely, absolutely. I truly believe in that too.
So we don't, like, survival isn't going to be dictated by just like, well, you just got to evolve, bro. You just got to keep on evolving. No, these species went extinct not because they needed to keep on evolving, but because they were not perfect for their conditions.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay, cool. So your earlier statement, you would now disagree with your earlier statement that God made all of these species like absolutely perfect.
Yes, I disagree that they were not all perfect. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
that is true. But I
Okay,
think that
so then I just ask you again for why do you think that God is real? Because that was like your main argument.
okay, so I guess, I mean, God is real because the way the universe is made, like, I'm sure you know that if gravity were to change by some like decimal, like 0.001, all would cease to exist and we would just fall apart.
I'm
Right?
agnostic on that. Could you provide me, like, I've asked people to provide me a source indicating as much,
Oh,
and they
I'm
haven't
sure
been
you can
able
just
to.
look that up in Google.
I have looked it up.
So,
That's the problem, is that I look it up and nothing comes up.
oh,
Nothing
okay.
that's not from
I
like a
would have
Christian
to.
website
Yes,
comes up. So
I've
would you
learned
provide
from.
me a source saying the things that you're claiming?
I do not remember the name of the book, but I could definitely send it to you so you can read it for future live in case.
Yeah,
But
that would be like totally cool.
yeah,
Unfortunately, I
yeah.
can't accept the name, like the evidence that you're not capable of giving, though.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense in the argument.
Yeah, yeah, just like a
The
DM me
argument.
or something, and
Yeah.
then we can have this
Yeah.
conversation again in the future.
Yeah, no, makes sense. But I mean, I could also give you other points. I mean, I think there's so much proof that God exists. Like we can get back into the morals thing that you were discussing with one of the guys that was on the live. Like morality, like you were talking about like how God I guess he is not being morally correct and damaging us by causing earthquakes and UV rays that cause skin cancer and
Yep,
that they
indeed.
yeah, and that's like what is harming us. And obviously what is preached in the Bible is that God is love and God wouldn't necessarily do that. But you have to understand that in this plane of earth, God is not, we cannot see him how like a human being. He is something else. And us being here in this realm, which is what is, I guess you could say, this plane, um, is not up to him what happens to us.
Wait, do you think Jesus is God?
I believe
Thanks
that
so much for that
Christ was the
mustache.
Son of
And
God,
do you think that we could have
rose.
seen Jesus?
I have never seen Jesus, no, but
Yeah, but could we have, like, could people in this realm have seen Jesus and thus seen God?
Absolutely, because he decided to come onto a human form.
Oh, cool. So it seems like we're actually perfectly capable of seeing God if he just like shows himself to
If
us.
he wanted us to do that, yeah, but and I can also tell you why he wouldn't want us to see him and why
Yeah,
he
wait,
would not.
why would he hide himself from us?
I think the reason that he hides himself from us is because it forces us to believe, to have faith and just believe in his preachings, even though we don't have necessarily like you say, like substantial evidence and like just absolute facts. We don't have that. But what we do have is various like examples of how God does exist. Like it's more like interpretation, you could say, you know?
So you're saying that it forces us to have faith. And so does God value it when we have faith in him?
Absolutely. Because if you're
So-
it's a mentality. At the end of the day, this is all like a mentality. It's just how you feel about life.
Is faith essential for going to heaven?
Absolutely not. I believe atheists and I believe people who have not who do not believe in God or on the correct God can go to heaven. Absolutely.
Oh, wait, then why do I care?
Yeah, you don't have to care as long as you're living a good life and at the end of the day you repent and regret. You have regrets. I'm sure you've done things that haven't always been good, and at the end of the day, if you end up regretting them, I mean, I'm not sure if you know the story about the man who was crucified next to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but I'm not going to repent to a God that I don't believe in, and it seems like you're saying that I don't have to do that.
You don't necessarily have to
That's
do that.
cool. Like if all it takes to get into
You don't have to
heaven,
repent to him.
if-
As long as you repent it to yourself, as long as you know you're guilty and you know your faults and you repent and you're like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have done that and I actually kind of regret it. At the end of the day, I'm sure God, as our creator and the creator of everything, will have space for the people who have lived a good life and have had like regrets and like they regret what they've done. As long as they repent, I mean, why would God just not accept people who don't necessarily believe in him. I
No,
think
that's like totally cool, but this is just out of line with Christian theology.
Oh, I absolutely. That's why I'm telling you. Like I'm not necessarily like I'm a Christian. I consider myself a Christian, but I'm not entirely in agreement with some of the things that Christianity has said, because they are like denying like that. I think that's a man-made thing that they're denying. Like you cannot just say who goes, like we cannot say who goes to heaven.
Yeah, yeah, sure. But
Like,
if all it takes to get into heaven is to just be a good person, I don't have to be a Christian, then I actually don't care about this conversation at all. Like, it's actually irrelevant to me that I'll just be a good person and I don't have to figure out what the correct metaphysics are.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you were to understand the correct metaphysics and if you were to believe, you would have something to strive for. You know, it's more like a goal. But you can still reach a certain point in life without having that goal. Like you could have your goal could be something else, and at the end of the day, like let's say I don't want to be rich, right? Like let's just say we're gonna go to a really basic example. Let's say I don't necessarily, my goal is not to be rich, but I start doing something that I am passionate about, like I don't know, music, and I share my music with the world, and because of my success, I become rich. I've also reached that goal without it being my goal. So I completely believe that you can go to heaven while you're being an atheist and while you're not believing. I think it's completely possible.
Oh,
And
I mean, like,
Christians
sounds
accept
good, I
it.
suppose. Do you, so what specifically is your account, though? Because I am confused. What's your account of why God has, like, this, why does the sun give us skin cancer? Why would God make it such that the sun gives us skin cancer?
I think that God made the universe as it is, and obviously it's not like we are not perfect for the universe. If you go out into space, you die. Like there are so many things that can harm us.
Yeah.
And it's not God that is doing the harm to us. He
So
placed us.
did God make it such that the sun emitted UV radiation?
Yeah, I'm sure he created he created the universe so that, the UV rays are also what keeps us warm and shit. Like like
Yeah, so
it's-
could he have made like different rays? Could he have like just changed the laws of physics or whatever to make it so
I'm
that
sure,
there's
but then
like
we would not
rays
be-
that like
we-
that keep us warm but don't give us skin cancer?
Absolutely, but do you agree that that with UV rays we have had technological advances because of UV rays?
Yeah, but he could have made like different rays that have all these benefits with none of the downsides. He could have made like different rays that give us no skin cancer and also give us like tons of like technological advances.
Absolutely right. That's absolutely right. But we
Yeah,
do
so
not
why didn't
know
he do
God's
that?
purpose.
Why did he choose for us to get skin cancer?
Well, I think it's because he gave us the option to not have everlasting life here on this realm, on
What
this
do you
planet.
mean?
We do not have everlasting life here. Like
Yeah, so we could die from like other ways,
Exactly.
but like
We could
why
die
would he
from
make
anything.
it such that we
There are babies
will
there are
die from
babies
like
that
skin
die
cancer
at 1
specifically?
year.
Like why would he do that to us?
That there are people that just die at 1 year. I mean, I'm sure that all the diseases and all the things that can damage us, they are not necessarily, they're not God's will. That's what you have to understand. Like he made the world as it is, and us, like we were saying, we're not perfect. So obviously there are things that will harm us, and that's just how. Like that's just literally how it works. Like that's just how it works.
Yeah, so
They all die.
why would God make it? Why would this all good God make it such that the world hurt us?
Well, I've always been a strong believer that pain is gain if you turn it into a gain, and I've seen that.
But what if
like,
what if it's skin cancer and it just kills you?
Yeah, then you
Is
die.
is
And I
skin
hope you live
cancer
a good life.
gain?
What?
Is
I-
skin
I'm not
cancer
catching that.
gain?
No, it is not a gain. I am talking
Okay.
about the technological advances. Obviously,
Oh,
skin cancer is
sure,
something
sure.
that's
So why
horrible.
couldn't we have the technological advances without the skin cancer?
Well, because God made it like that.
But why did he make it like that if he's all good? Wouldn't the
do not know.
wouldn't the
Oh.
all good thing to do be to make it such that it gives the technological advances and doesn't give the skin cancer?
Absolutely, that is.
Oh, so
correct-
then God is
that-
not all
you-
good
you
because
could
he
say-
made
you
it
could
such
say
that it doesn't
but
do
he
that.
didn't do it like that because we do not know God's purpose. God has not come down and has told us like this is your purpose. He has only showed us a path that you can believe in or you cannot. That's what
So
I'm saying.
do you agree that God is like the person who is giving us skin cancer? Ian, thanks so much for the heart. I appreciate it.
Wait, what were
Do you agree
saying?
that God is the person giving us skin cancer?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so do you agree that God made the sun and that the sun gives us skin cancer?
I believe God made the universe as it is, and I believe that. Well, would you agree with me that if we were to like, look, I know what you're gonna say. Like, I know what you're going for because it's what you were saying to the last guy. But would you agree that if we were to, I don't know, hopefully still be the human race for the next, I don't know, 1,500 years, do you believe it's possible that by then the sun rays wouldn't affect us because of our technological advancements?
Maybe it's possible, but why would we want to, like, I don't think that God
Those
is
are
going to be an
challenges.
all good God if if he gives us like the means to make technological advances via like tons of people dying from skin cancer. Why can't he just like allow us to get the scientific advances without getting the skin cancer?
Because then it's a shortcut in life. Like life has its challenges, and it's literally like, why would he make it easy for us? Like it's not an easy path.
Because if he's an all good, all loving God, why would he give us skin cancer specifically? Like, why
He's
is a
not the
world
one
with
giving
skin
us skin
cancer
cancer.
preferable
He
to
just
a
made
world
it
without
as it
skin
was,
cancer?
so that we can learn ways to. There's if I mean you can wear sunblock, you can stay under the sun.
Yeah, but
There's
people,
now
there's like lots of people who died of skin cancer before sunblock
absolutely.
existed.
Yeah, I know.
And also we
But-
need the sun in order to survive because it
So-
gives us vitamin D.
Yeah, exactly. And apart from that, I mean, you know that now that sunblock is a thing, that's a technological advancement that was made because of skin cancer. Like,
Yeah, it's an advancement that if the sun didn't give us skin cancer, we would have no need for.
yeah. But it made us strive for something greater, for something that would help us. You
Yeah,
know?
we could be like making advancements in other fields. We just don't have to have the sun give us skin cancer. We could make advancements in the field of like mathematics, physics, or like other technological advancements that
And
solve
we
other
have.
problems
And
that
we have. We
exist,
absolutely
as
have.
opposed to solving problems that God caused himself.
Sunscreen is chemistry. At the end of the day, that is mathematics.
Wait, what?
Sunscreen is all based off like chemistry. You
Yes,
need-
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But this is just it was made in order to solve a problem that God created in the first place. Like, why is God creating so many problems for us?
I think. if
Do you
just
agree
want-
that it's like evil? If someone caused someone else to get skin cancer, that if I push a button and it caused someone to get skin cancer, that I would be doing an immoral thing?
Yeah, you would
Mm-hmm.
obviously.
So if I made a robot that goes out and gives people skin cancer via the transmission of UV rays, would you agree that that's an immoral thing?
That would be an immoral thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I made
But if
like
that is-
if I made like
but-
a big old sun that emits UV radiation
Yeah, but give me a second.
and gives people
That is
skin
man-made,
cancer,
is it
if
not?
I did
Your robot
this,
would be
would that be an
man-made.
immoral thing?
Wait, let's go back to what you're saying. Your robot would be a man-made thing, would it not? You would
Yeah,
be
but
the one-
let's say that we get so advanced that I'm like making a sun. If I make a sun and that sun
and
gives people
also-
skin
wait,
cancer,
and
but I
also you
easily
would be
could
the
have
one
made it such that
controlling
it didn't give people skin cancer. Would,
Yeah,
would
but
that be
you-
a moral thing to do?
It would not be a moral thing to do if you were to do
Yeah,
it. If you
cool.
had a
So
robot,
if God makes a sun that gives people skin cancer, is that a moral thing to do?
it's because that's the thing. He's not like there are two different things that we're there's a small misconception with what you're saying. You are controlling the robot. Is God controlling the sun? No, he is not.
No, but if I made the robot like completely autonomous, like it just goes out and gives people skin
Like
cancer
it would
on its
just go
own.
around.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
just goes
you could
around
find
and
a way
gives
to
people skin
disconnect it,
cancer on its
would
own.
you
Yeah.
not? You could just find a way to disconnect it, that still doesn't.
Well, wait,
make
but
any
I'm just
sense.
asking, like, would that
What
be a
you're
moral
saying-
thing to do? Like, just to put out like this autonomous like skin
No,
cancer producing
it
robot?
would not. It would not be an atomic.
Yeah, I
it would not
agree.
be
Yeah.
a moral
So in the
thing to
same
do.
way, even though I'm not like literally selecting the people to get skin cancer, I just create the mechanism by which they do get skin cancer with the knowledge that they're going to get skin cancer. That would be the immoral thing to do. So God made the sun knowing that we would get skin cancer, and he made it anyway in the exact same way.
All right, but I'm also going to go and backtrack a little bit. You know that also we have an atmosphere that protects us from the UV rays, right? And that atmosphere, we've been the ones that we degraded the atmosphere and have caused for UV rays and to actually affect us in a stronger way. You do know that, right? With pollution and stuff like that.
Do UV rays
Yeah,
affect
the
us
atmosphere.
stronger with climate change?
The ozone, like the ozone in the atmosphere is actually prevents you from getting.
Oh, okay,
that's why
sure.
at
No,
certain
that's totally
places-
fine. But regardless,
why at
why would you
certain
make it
places,
so?
I'm
Even
sure if
even
you're at
before
high
climate change,
altitude-
people got skin cancer before climate change. So it's like just a completely
Absolutely,
irrelevant point.
absolutely,
But it's like a fun
absolutely.
fact, I guess.
No, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think
So
that-
so let's focus on the time before climate change. Why would God give these people skin cancer?
I don't think he's not meaning to give you skin cancer, and he's not the one. At the end of the day, like you have to stop saying God is the one giving us skin cancer. The sun.
But God
is
made
one
the sun, and the sun gives us skin cancer, and God knew that the sun was going to give us skin cancer before He made it, and He made it anyway. God gave us skin cancer.
to give us hardships so that we could strive for greatness.
Yeah. Wait. So then God does give us skin cancer, so we could strive for greatness.
Yeah, and he also gave us a cure, did he not?
Oh, well, for skin cancer, no, He didn't.
well, I
But
mean,
wait,
yeah,
wait, wait.
no,
But I just want to
sure,
be clear.
sure.
This is like you did just say verbatim that God is the one who's giving us skin cancer.
No. I did not say that. I said
You
the
said that
sun.
He's giving us skin cancer for greatness. Like everyone heard it.
Well, what I meant to say is that he. No, I didn't say that. I said he gives us hardships so that we can strive. That's what I
And
said.
do these hardships
Hardship.
include skin cancer?
I think the sun is a hardship. The sun.
But do the hardships include skin cancer? Because the sun itself is not a hardship. The sun is essential for life. It's like the
absolutely.
source of
It is-
like most of
the
the
source
energy
of
on the
living, and
planet. The
it is
sun is like
also
just
a hardship.
essential.
If you stay out in the sun in a desert, you will get dehydrated. You will.
Yeah, but
get
like the sun
burned.
is just going to be essential for like every part of life. But
Exactly.
God could have made this and just not given us skin cancer. That's the point of the argument.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There are hardships in life. Not everything is made to perfection towards us because we are not perfect. If we were perfect, we would not be damaged by UV rays. That's why we need technological advancements to be able to help us with our hardships because we are not perfect. You know?
Yeah, but you disagree that God is the one giving us skin cancer. But so in the instance when I make like a robot with the knowledge that it's going to go out and it's going to go out and like shoot people with like UV rays and give them skin cancer, or like at least like roll the dice on giving them skin cancer, would you say that I'm the one who gave it to him?
Yeah, you're the cause of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So how is it disanalogous to say that if God makes a sun which shoots out UV rays and causes the development of skin cancer, how is
Because
this
your
not God
robot has
causing skin
absolutely
cancer?
no
Could you
other
explain that
purpose
to me?
than to give skin cancer. The sun has many valuable purposes.
Yes, yeah. But one of
So-
the things that it does is provide skin. So let's say that I change my robot, that it doesn't just like shoot out UV rays and give people skin cancer. That it also does other things, like it like waters the grass, and that it is like a carbon sequestration device. So it's actively working against climate change, and it's like solar powered or whatever. Am I causing skin cancer in this case still?
Wait, go back and say that again?
Yeah. So let's say that I
question
make a
two.
robot. The robot like shoots out like UV radiation, which gives people skin cancer. But it also like is a carbon sequestration device. So it sucks carbon out of the atmosphere and it's like fighting against climate change. It's like solar powered. It's like super good for the environment. Despite the fact that it has like benefits, the fact that I made this robot to shoot UV rays at people, am I the cause of them getting skin cancer?
Yes, you are being a cause
Yes.
of them.
So how is God not the cause of us getting skin cancer?
Because he placed the sun there, and yeah, I mean, his existence is what made the sun and whatever. Like it's like we were saying, he created it or whatever. But
Yep,
at the end of the day, it's because we are not perfect. Because I believe that the universe is not designed for us to just for it to be perfect for.
So this is just not an answer to the question, because my question is like, if
But it
we
kinda-
agree that in
what
the
you're
robot
thinking is
scenario
you are
where the
taking
robot is
one con-
going around and like giving people skin cancer, that I am
You're
causing
taking
people to
one
have
con out of
skin
many
cancer.
pros. Like the sun, you're taking one con out of the sun and just
Yeah. Well, and you're taking one con
allowing
out of the
all the
robot,
pros
but you
that
would
it
still
has.
say
Like,
that I
there are-
caused
you-
people to like
For
have skin
argument's
cancer.
sake,
Even if
we could say
the
that the
robot does like
sun
other good
is
things,
better-
it's still giving people skin cancer. I'm still the cause of their cancer.
Yeah. I just want to ask you.
Yes. Yeah. Wait. So then you would agree that God is the cause of people's cancer. Just say that you think God is the cause of people's cancer. He made the sun. He knew that if he made the sun, it would emit UV radiation. He knew that if it emitted UV radiation, it would give people skin cancer. He made the sun in the exact same way anyway. You would have to conclude that God is the source of skin cancer.
Yeah, but I think he did it for like there is it's not
Okay,
like
perfect.
it's not
So
exactly how
God
you're
is
phrasing.
the one giving us skin cancer. Great.
It's not exactly how you're phrasing it though, because you're saying that God purposely like is giving us skin cancer,
Do you
which
think there's
is
a good
honestly
reason for us to get skin
today
cancer?
skin cancer today is extremely low compared to how it was before. And honestly, the people like
That's like completely irrelevant. That actually like that's a
no,
nonsense
but
thing to say.
it
It's
should
like,
be no,
well,
it
the
shouldn't
number
be
of
though.
people I've murdered this year is much lower than the number of people I've murdered last year.
But I mean, you're taking I mean, that's a statistical number that now today you know the damages of the sun, so you can take care of your skin, right? So you don't get skin cancer, right? I have
Well,
sensitive
yeah,
skin.
but people who
I use
do, you
sunblock.
can do like the
I
perfect
stay
thing.
in the
You can be
shade
the
when I know I've
perfect
been out in the
person.
sun for too long. So like, why would you not do it? Like
You could be the
at
perfect
the end of
person
the
in
day, it's a
regards to like
you're
skin
the
health.
one.
You
Like,
can you
if you
can wear
know
your
the facts,
sunscreen every single time, and you'll
if you
still
know the
there's still a
wait, but
chance
if
that you'll
you
get
know
skin
the
cancer.
facts of the sun, if you know what happens if you stay out in the sun too long, why would you do it? I think
Because
that's
you need to
you
be in the sun
purposely
to be
being
alive in the
ignorant
first
and
place. You
then
need the
getting
sun to
sun
get
cancer.
vitamin D
Like
in the
I
first
feel like that's
place.
literally just like that's literally just
Also, I should be able to stay in the sun. Like, it would be a lot cooler if I could just stay in the sun. I have no reason why God wouldn't want us to be hanging out in the sun.
you just want there to be sun all day and you could just chill out there in the
No, I
sun and
mean, there
not
should be
nothing
night
happen to
as
you.
well, but I mean, I don't know. Like, the sun is cool. Being in the sun is fun.
Absolutely, and
Yeah,
that's
so then
perfect.
why wouldn't God, like, just allow us to chill in the sun?
You can chill out in the sun. You just cannot chill out for, I guess you could say, multiple hours throughout days and days and days and days, because that is, and even you could do that if you're wearing like protective gear. You can do that. Why
So
do you
would you
think?
say that, like, every person who has skin cancer, that it's, like, their fault that they got skin cancer?
I think they some, not all of them, but I think definitely a lot of them were ignorant.
Oh, so let's talk about the ones who, would you say that there's anyone, do you think that, I guess I'll just ask you like the same question or maybe like narrow it down. Is there anyone who you think has skin cancer, but it's not their fault that they have skin cancer?
Yeah, I think there absolutely has to be somebody that has gotten skin cancer and it's not their fault. Yeah.
Yeah, so whose fault is it?
I would say it's the world's fault. Us
And who
as
made the
people.
world?
No. I'm not saying the world's fault as in like the sun. I'm saying as us and people. You know why?
Why?
Because if we were to spread education across the entire world, then there would be people that like I'm sure there's some kids in Africa that they don't know the harms of the sun and they don't have sunblock. They don't have the protective needs. I mean, I'm sure they know by now that because of what they've heard from you could say their ancestors or whatever, that if you stay out in the sun for too long, it will cause some damage. So they try to look for shade. But if they knew the exact facts, I think they would be taking better care of the skin. And if they had that, like if they had that education, if they had those if they had that protective gear, if they had the means to do it, they would do it, you know? And at the end
Yeah,
of the
so
day,
this
that's not
is
God's
just
fault.
going to
That's
be
our
like a
fault.
contradiction because it sounds like you're saying that it's like the fault of the people who didn't educate you, but what I'm saying, like what you said earlier, was that it's like the fault of nature or like the fault of the world. So if by that you just mean like people, then sure, whatever. But let's talk about a time before we had like this advanced science when people got skin cancer and nobody knew why and nobody knew what to do to prevent it and nobody even knew what the cause of it was. So whose fault is it that these people had skin cancer?
What you're saying is that like that's the I mean at the end of the day that is the sun's fault if what you're
Yeah.
saying is cause and effect. But at the end of the day, what I believe in is that is a purpose of for us to find technological advancements. And at the end of the day, it's all about a learning progress. Like it's a learning process. Sorry.
And so who made the sun in these instances?
God. God created everything.
Yeah, yeah. So God made the sun knowing that it would like shoot out UV rays, thus giving people skin cancer.
Yeah, but I mean, God doesn't necessarily. It's because this earth is literally not meant for us. Like this is not eternal life, so you will get harmed. I mean, everybody that says otherwise is just being like, "Oh wow, I just don't want to get hurt by my like. I don't want to get hurt by these things." But that's just how the world is. It's
Why
meant for
would
you
he
to have
make the world
hardships.
that way?
It's
Like, so
meant
so I
for-
guess like another
It's meant
question.
for you to have hardships. You need to have hardships in life. So
Yeah,
that you
why
can
can't we
prove
have
yourself to
hardships
God.
caused by other things that isn't nature itself? Like why would God unalive like 60,000 people a year with earthquakes?
He's not the one doing it, though. You think
So
earthquakes
so
are caused
who's
by
the
God?
one doing earthquakes?
The earth causes the earth causes
And
our
who
own
made
earth.
the earth do that?
Yeah, he did. But
Okay, so then
can you
God
agree with
causes
me? Can you, wait,
earthquakes.
can you agree with me that with today's mathematics, um, earthquakes, like you could say,
Yeah, and
yeah,
some haven't, and 60,000 people a year are
absolutely.
still unalived
That's what
by
we're
them.
saying. That's technological advancements. We just haven't.
I mean,
shared.
that's just
We
going to be the
haven't
result of
shared.
things
Us
like
as humans, we
imperialism
haven't
and
shared with the rest of the
colonialism.
world. But there are
That like
places
the people
today.
who are hurt
I
most
live in a
by this are the
country.
countries
I
who are
live
the
in a
victims
country
of
where
things
there are
like
many
imperialism and
earthquakes, and my
colonialism.
house
But
is earthquake proof because I know
so
what can
so
happen.
why would there be earthquakes at all in the first place?
I mean, I cannot tell you the exact science of why there are earthquakes, but
Well,
like
I know that it's because of tectonic plates. Why would
exactly,
God
that's
make
what I know.
why would God make the earthquake in the first place?
For the hardships, so that we could find stronger materials. You could use like it's
So
all,
why doesn't
it's
God
all
come down
relative.
and beat
Like
the
it,
fuck out of us every single day for the hardship?
yeah, absolutely. Because you gotta learn. You gotta strive through hardships, and you gotta make yourself a better
So
person.
wait, so
and
you think
make things
that
better.
God should come down in like a physical form and like kick the dog shit out of us every
No,
single
no, no, no,
day?
no, no. Absolutely not. That's
Wait,
not,
but
not
imagine how like good of fighters we would be. Imagine how like innovative we would be at like defending against God if like every single day he just came down and like harassed the shit out of us.
no. There's no reason for him to do that.
Yeah, no, for the hardship, remember?
No, but that's different because he made the
Why is
world
that
as
different?
it is. Because he made the world as it is with certain things that do happen across the world, and you have to learn throughout.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
years.
but you're saying that it's fine because it's like provides us hardship and that hardship is good. So I'm just wondering, like, why doesn't God make a whole bunch more hardship for us?
You don't think we have enough?
Some people certainly don't. Like,
No,
why
I
doesn't
think.
God make more hardship for like Elon Musk, for example?
Well, I think Elon Musk has had his fair share of hardships.
I strongly disagree. I think he grew
mean,
up with money from an apartheid emerald mine, one
Yeah,
of the
but do
most
you know
evil
him
systems in the
personally? Like,
history
do
of
you know him
history.
personally?
He was born rich. He had lots of money to allow him to try as many times as he wanted in order to succeed. And now he's like one
Absolutely.
of the richest people on the planet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like clearly the hardship is not equally distributed.
Yeah, that's that. I completely agree because I believe. I mean, a thing that is also not very common with what I believe in is that, as we know, there are babies that die and stuff, and you obviously have to live a full life. And not actually, I don't think it's one life. I think you get many lives across different times to be able to prove yourself to go to the eternal place once he comes and he, judges us for what we've done and how we've lived our lives. So, like what you're saying, when people die unexpectedly, that's just it was your time for your life to end. Like
Do you think it would be more so if you're saying that earthquakes are fine because of hardship, let's say I have a button in front of me and if I push this button it's going to cause an earthquake that's going to kill like tons of people. Would it be moral for me to push this button?
there are buttons like that, but they test them out with structures and what
Yeah,
people
wait, and
understand.
is it moral to push the button? I don't care about like the fun facts surrounding the button.
I mean,
I just
you're
want to
just going
know,
back
is it
to the
moral
morality.
to
It's the
cause an
same.
earthquake that kills a bunch of people? Is that a moral thing to do?
We've already established this because you said the exact same thing for the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but is the
It's
answer
the
going to be the
same
same that
argument.
that it is in fact not moral to cause this hardship?
It's the same argument. For you, it would not be moral, but God
Yeah.
made the world as it is. He
Yeah,
actually
but
made it.
so I just want to
Wait,
be clear. I just want to be clear. So despite the fact that me creating an earthquake would cause hardship, that's not good. But you do
yeah, but
think
God
that
made
it's
the
good
earth
that God
way
creates
before
hardship.
He made us. God made the earth way before He made us.
No, that's cool. But why would God want to? So if He made the world before He made us, did He like make it in mind with the fact that we would have to have like all these hardships?
You know,
It sounds like
can't answer
God
that
made
because
this
I am
world to
not
be
God,
like
so I can't
gratuitously
tell you
cruel that
exactly
he's
how
going to
he
give us like
thinks.
skin cancer
We
for the
can't
hardship, and he's going to
speculate.
cause earthquakes for the hardship.
Yeah, but we can't speculate on how a God will think. You
Wait,
know,
would you be willing to transfer all the money in your bank account to me right now for the hardship?
absolutely not,
Okay, why not?
because there are so many other hardships
Yeah,
that you
cool.
have to
And there are
face.
so many other hardships without earthquakes.
Yeah,
So then
I
why would
truly.
God want to do earthquakes?
He already made them before Earth. Like he made them before us. So
Yes,
you
yeah,
can't know
but
that.
he knew that
You're
we would
asking
exist.
what you're asking is because you're asking
Wait,
very like
why is that a relevant factor?
specific
I think I'm just
questions that
not
are not
understanding what you're
necessarily
saying. Like the
relevant.
fact that he made them before he made us is completely irrelevant.
Yeah, but you're asking questions that are not necessarily relevant to why God exists. You're asking
Yeah, well,
why
but it
he's
is
doing
because
the
the
things that he's
conclusion of
doing.
this, if you just want, and it sounds like you're conceding that you have no explanation or answer. The conclusion is that
Neither do you. You're
earthquakes
literally
are
just
evil.
stating what you're
The
stating.
conclusion is that skin cancer is evil. So if someone is causing skin cancer, if someone is causing earthquakes, that person is evil. And God cannot be all good and also be doing these evil things.
He's not doing those things, though.
So
That's what you
God
don't
doesn't.
understand.
So you think
What you're not
God made the
understanding
earth,
is
which
that he
causes
made the
earthquakes. He
earth
made it
way
knowing that it
before
would
us.
cause earthquakes, and he made
Yeah.
it anyway in the exact same way, even though he could have made it to not cause earthquakes. But you don't think God is the one doing it, and you think God made the sun emitting UV radiation, knowing that it would emit UV radiation, knowing that this UV radiation would give people skin cancer, knowing that people would die of skin cancer, knowing that young people would die of skin cancer. God made the sun in the exact same way and humanity in the exact same way, but you don't think that he's the cause of skin cancer.
All right, I'm gonna look. I'm gonna say something so that you can take this. This will be my last statement because I think this is going in a cycle of morality and stuff like that. But what I want to say is that God made the earth way before us. We cannot speculate on God's plan or even the way He thinks, right? Because we don't know Him. You and I, we don't know Him personally. We can't even see Him. You believe He doesn't exist. I believe He does. But yeah, He made the earth way long before us.
And why is
So
that relevant?
it is relevant because He made the earth like that before He made us. So if
And
He
why
made
is that
the earth like
relevant?
that, you're saying that why would He make earthquakes?
Oh, wait, so did God know that when God was making earthquakes, did he know that he was going to be making us as well?
We don't know that. That's the thing.
Oh,
That's what
sure.
we don't
So
know.
in John, it says that God knows all things. Do you think that that's true? Do you think that God is not omniscient?
I think when they say that God knows all things, is that He knows all things like right now. Like He knows He is everywhere. Like He is in every light. Like He's in every life. He's in every person. He's in every soul. Like that is like God is all knowing. Like He knows because He is everywhere. His
Okay, so
essence,
so
his essence.
In Luke, there's a verse that where Jesus specifically says to I think he was talking to Peter, and he says, Peter, you will deny me 3 times, and then Peter does deny him 3 times. Do you think that that was just a lucky guess on Jesus's part?
Wait, what? Can you repeat that again?
So there's a verse in Luke where Jesus tells Peter, Peter, you will deny knowing me. You will deny being my disciple 3 times. Do you think that that was just a lucky guess?
No. Of course He knew.
Yeah. So it sounds like God does know the future.
Yeah, to a certain extent, but you don't know how far. Like how far do you know? Like you can't know that.
Well, so if God is making the earth on like day 1 and making humanity day 3 or day 4 or whatever,
It
so
wasn't
it's
day four,
like
though.
God's
That's not how it
God's
works.
power is like
I mean, that's
time
been proven
restricted.
wrong. You know that's been proven wrong. He didn't make God in one day and then He made us in the fourth day. That's
Well, that's
complete.
what the Bible says. So at that point, you'd just be rejecting the
Exactly.
Bible.
I'm telling you. Do you think? I don't think that's not real. I mean, there's literally scientific facts that
W.
prove that.
Yeah, it's not real.
That's not real. That's
I
that's
agree.
all stories
It's not
that have
real.
been made by
Yeah,
man.
the Bible isn't
God
real.
does exist,
W.
though. God made the earth billions of years before He made us, and we do not know if we do not know. Like we still do not know like why He made it like that. Obviously, you can't know unless you were to ask Him. We might be able to ask Him one day. I mean, you
So
never
you're
know.
saying that when God was making the earth such that it was going to have earthquakes, that he had no idea he was going to be creating humanity, that he didn't know?
I can't say that because I don't know that. You're saying something. You're trying to get me to speculate on something.
Yeah, so it's there's one of
And you're
two answers. There's
speculating
one
as
of two
well. You're not
answers.
giving any proof. You're just
There's
speculating.
I
You're
will
really
I'll
just
give like a
speculating.
deductive proof. I'll give a deductive proof right now. So there's one of two answers. Either God did know, in which case you do need to answer for why he made earthquakes, knowing that it would kill so many humans every single year, why he caused the sun to give us skin cancer, knowing it would give us skin cancer, knowing that he was going to create us, or he didn't know that we were going to exist, in which case he's not all knowing. All paths lead to contradiction. So do you want to go with the yes, or do you want to go with the no?
To what? To God is all knowing?
Yeah. Or no, wait, to specifically, like, did God know when God was making the sun and making the earth such that it would cause earthquakes and skin cancer? Did God know that he was going to create humanity?
It's because you can't answer that. That
Well,
that would be me.
wait, but I told you what the two possible answers to that are, and I told you what the
Listen,
implications of each answer is.
you're-
So
what you're saying
either we conclude that God doesn't exist because he's not all knowing, or we conclude that God is not all good because he made earthquakes knowing he would make humans, and that
What I do
humans
believe
would
is that
suffer
God is all
gratuitously in
knowing. The question is
earthquakes.
that God is all knowing. I can say yes.
So you're saying that God is not all knowing.
No, I'm saying he is all knowing.
Okay, so then, oh, sure. So then you would say that God did know when he was making earthquakes. He did know that he was going to make humanity.
When you specify it like that, you can't say if he did know or not because we don't know God.
But you
Like,
said
we
he's
don't-
all knowing.
he is all knowing, but
So he's all
if
knowing,
you're
but you don't
all-knowing,
know if he
listen to
knew
me.
whether or not he was
Listen
going
to
to
me,
create
listen to me,
humanity.
Listen to me. When we're saying he's all knowing, like you're saying he predicted what was going to happen, right? He predicted it in the Bible. That's because he had already made us. So once he's made something, I'm sure he can predict the outcome. But when he made Earth, did he know that he was going to make us? I'm not entirely sure.
If he's all knowing, then presumably.
Not necessarily. Why would he be why would it be any different to you when you're making something new? Like if you made something, like if you made a I don't know, like a domino stack and you know you're going to drop it, you already know what's going to happen. If you made it perfectly and you've calculated it, like physics will tell you what's going to happen, right? But how do you go and say like that you were going to know like later on if you were to color it a different color or something?
Before God made the earth, did he know that it was going to have earthquakes?
Before God made the earth?
Yeah.
I'm sure when he planned it, he did. I'm sure as soon as he planned the universe, he knew that Earth was going to have earthquakes.
Cool. So despite the fact that the earth didn't exist, he did know what was going to happen. So
Yes,
despite
because
the
he was
fact that
about to
humans
create.
didn't exist yet, he did know that he was going to create them. That's what all knowing means.
No, all knowing means is that you know everything, but you know everything in the moment, you know? And yeah,
That's not,
what
this
you're
is,
saying
nobody
is
thinks
since
that that's
God
what,
is-
wait, so if that's true, then how did Jesus, if Jesus only knew everything in the moment, then how did Jesus know what Peter was going to do in the future?
I mean, in the Genesis chapters, I'm pretty sure he says.
Wait.
yeah,
We're
God-
talking about like a chapter of Luke. So if all knowing means that you just know what's going to happen in the present, or that you know what's happening in the present, how did Jesus know what was going to happen in the future?
I believe that God is all knowing, and I think he does. He probably did know when he made Earth that he was going to make us.
Yeah.
As he made everything else.
Oh,
And,
cool.
yeah,
So
but
so
that's-
he
that- at the end
did
of the day,
know
that
when he
is
was making the
speculation,
earth,
so
he
I can't-
knew
I
that he was
can't- I
also
can't
going to
tell
make
you
us.
as a straight
Great.
fact. You know, like I can't tell you that's a full belief because I don't necessarily know that. But
But it is what you
personally
believe, so you should be able to defend it, presumably.
Yeah, I have, and I'm telling you that it's all throughout hardships and stuff like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you suffer, you have to advance and you have to make technological advancements and all that. And what you're saying is that he's being immoral to us, but at the end of the day, it's because we have to face these hardships because we are sinful. Like we are sinful. Us as humans, we are sinful.
So
We-
did
we
God
prove
decide
ourselves.
that being sinful, the result of being sinful, is that literal kids would be killed in earthquakes?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like
Okay, well then God is like just evil. If
No,
God
no.
decided that
God
kids are going to
definitely
be
did
killed in
create evil.
earthquakes, that he's
God definitely
going to
did
go
create
forth
evil.
and like
That's
take the
also
lives
another-
of newborns for
that's
literally no
also another
reason, then
chapter.
God's evil.
God did create evil. So, and we can't understand his purpose until we have fulfilled our life here, which is something that we will have to do. But what I was saying is that I think there's substantial facts that God does exist throughout like mathematics and physics and evolution and just how.
Oh, well, you failed to argue even a single one of those. So
Well, yeah, because I couldn't give you the exact name, but like I will send it to you, and I'm sure we can chat another time. But I
Yep.
unfortunately have to go. It was nice chatting with you.
yeah, it was nice chatting with you as
yeah.
well. All right. Hey, make sure you're double tapping on that screen. Let's get to 190K. I'm hitting my second wind, fortunately, or maybe I'm not, and maybe it's all going to go downhill. But we'll see. Because I do get like very tired. But make sure you're double tapping on that screen. Consider joining the Discord, link in bio. It's a great place. We talk about politics, religion, philosophy, really whatever you want to talk about. Although the web link doesn't work, you can access it via a web browser. So just go on TikTok.com, go to Ian is hiding, and with that, you will be able to, or no, not Ian is hiding. I'm like so spacey, so loopy that I forgot what I was saying. Go to allegedly Ian. I did change my name, and access it that way. And with that, we can go to the next guest. But yeah. Hey, what's up?
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi,
Hey, how old are you?
I'm 18,
And when were you born?
2005.
Okay. So do you think God is real?
I don't think God is real.
You don't?
No.
Oh, I'm just looking for people who do, but I appreciate you coming on up here.
Oh, sorry.
Nah, you're good. Make sure you only request to join if you disagree, if you think that God is not real. I'm looking for some debates. Hey, what's up?
Hello.
Going?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. How old are you?
I'm 20.
And do you think that God is real?
I do think God is real.
And which God do you believe in? What's your religion?
I believe in Jesus Christ.
So do you have evidence or an argument or proof that Christianity is true?
I do. The eyewitnesses.
Okay. Which eyewitnesses? Could you give me like eyewitnesses that aren't the Bible?
Well, I rely on the Bible, so the eyewitnesses
yeah,
will be
so-
John, Luke, Mark, Matthew.
Yeah, so there's just going to be like a structural problem in your argument that you're saying that the Bible is true because of the things contained within the Bible, that the Bible proves itself to be true. You need to rely on something external. This would be like if I took a power strip and like plugged it into itself, and then wondered like, why is there no power coming out of this? The reason is, and so you can rely on the Bible for some things, but it needs to be verified by other sources. So if the Bible says that Jesus resurrected, and other sources, things that are not the Bible, also say that Jesus was resurrected, then I think that that's probably going to be pretty good proof that the Bible is true. But unless you can provide me these other sources that say that Jesus was resurrected or that Jesus did anything miraculous, then I'm just not going to be able to take your word for it.
So what if I okay, so can I ask you a question then?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I asked you for you to prove me the 100% that George Washington was real, what is going to be your argument on that?
So I don't know if I'd be able to prove that 100% he was real because of like external factors, but I could prove like 99.999 repeating percent. So, which is like essentially the same thing. And the way that I would do that is I would just cite all the wide variety of sources. I wouldn't rely on one source. The reason why I can prove that George Washington existed, almost certainly, but Jesus was not mystical, is because I have I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands of sources, eyewitness accounts, firsthand testimony saying that George Washington existed, that he was real, from a wide variety of sources, whereas you only have one source that says that Jesus was mystical, and it's the Bible, the thing that you're trying to prove true in the first place.
Okay, but you said eyewitnesses and testimonies, and then
Yeah.
you said a variety of other articles that prove that he was real. Yeah, you can't name any. You just said eyewitnesses and testimonies, just as I know that there was eyewitnesses and testimonies regarding that he was real.
Yeah, so I think Jesus was a real person. I don't think that he did anything magical, though. I would not
You do
believe
think
that
that he's real?
George Washington did something magical if there was only one eyewitness account or only like one set of eyewitness accounts that was like, yeah, George Washington was magical. I wouldn't buy that for a second. So I think Jesus existed. I just don't think that he had magical properties or that he was the Son of God.
So you do think that he existed and that he was real?
Yeah.
So why don't you think that he is God then?
Because there's no evidence that he ever did anything mystical.
There's no evidence that he did any miracles then? That's what you
Nope,
think?
none at all.
So the eyewitness is not enough for you?
No, because the eyewitnesses come from the Bible. The thing you're trying to prove is that the Bible is true, that it's real. You can't prove that the Bible is true by just like citing the testimony in the Bible. This would be like saying that like Harry Potter is the son of God because Harry Potter does like magical things within the text of Harry Potter.
But that's not in the Bible though.
Yeah, but that's in
So,
Harry
like
Potter.
I said, I rely on the Bible, so why would I rely on another book?
Yeah,
that
but
you
it's just
can
like a
tell me
logical
that-
issue, right? Like it's a circular argument essentially. It's like saying that the Bible is true because the Bible is true.
Well, I'm not saying the Bible is true because it's true. Like just like if I say a book is true, let's say another book that's talking about somebody else being God. I'm not just gonna say, oh yeah, just because they said it, I'm gonna believe it. But it's because on the Bible you have these eyewitnesses that witness that Jesus was real and that he was God in human form.
Yeah, and why do you think that these eyewitness accounts are true?
Because like I said, I rely on the Bible. That's why. And
Yeah,
that's,
so you're saying that the Bible is
archaeological
true because the
evidence that he
Bible
was
is
real.
true. It's a circular argument.
Yeah, but like I just said, like there's archaeological evidence that he was real.
Oh, yeah, I believe he was real. I just don't think he was the Son of God.
So you don't think he was the son of God because he didn't do any miracles? That's what
Yeah,
you think.
correct.
But that's what you think though.
Yeah. So why should I not think that?
Because he did.
Oh, sure. So what's the evidence that he did miracles without using a circular argument saying that the Bible is true because the Bible is true? What's the evidence that Jesus did miracles?
Okay, so the same way I'm gonna ask you, what's the evidence that George Washington was the first president of the United States?
A wide variety of sources.
Okay, so like go on, like
Yeah,
elaborate
yeah.
more.
So I don't know, like literally all the founding fathers talked about George Washington and referred to him as the first president in their writings, which we still have to this day.
Yeah,
It's just like the sheer number of sources is the reason. Also, the Gospels weren't actually written by Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. The Gospel of Luke, for example, is estimated to have been written between 80 years and 120 years after the death of Jesus. So unless you think Luke is like 120 years old, the Gospels were not actually written by the disciples. They weren't written by people who knew Jesus.
Okay, let's go back to what you said about there's a lot of articles about George Washington being the first president and the fathers and all this. How do you still not giving me enough evidence on whether that's true or not?
What do you mean?
Unless there was eyewitnesses that witnessed that he was real, right?
Yeah, yes, that's like
And
these
that-
eyewitness accounts saying that he was real and that he was like the first president, but it's a wide variety of them. They're not claiming, like, I believe that Jesus was a real person because there are like there's a wide variety of accounts. I don't think Jesus is a real person just because the Bible says he was a real person. I think he was a real person because we have like documents from like Rome, for example, describing how Jesus is a real guy who like actually existed and that they sentenced to crucifixion. There's evidence that Jesus existed for a wide variety of eyewitness accounts saying that Jesus existed. There is not evidence that Jesus resurrected from the dead.
You said there's no evidence that he resurrected from the dead.
Yes.
Well, what about the archaeological evidence that there is?
So what's the
And
archaeological
scientifically-
evidence?
And scientifically proven that
Yeah.
he did rose from the dead.
Yeah. Can you show me the scientific article that says he rose from the dead?
I'll show you the scientific article that it shows that prove that he rose from the dead. When you show me the articles that prove that that George Washington was the first president.
Oh, so I'm not claiming that George Washington existed in like a scientific sense. I'm saying that we have like a wide variety of sources of writing that says that he existed. That's all I'm saying. But it seems like you actually don't have any scientific proof or any proof whatsoever
Well-
that Jesus resurrected. So I believe George Washington existed and I believe that Jesus existed. Cool. What I don't believe is that Jesus did anything mystical because I don't have evidence that Jesus did anything mystical. So do you have, you said that you had a scientific article saying that Jesus
No, I said
resurrected.
there's
Can I get your
scientific
scientific article saying that Jesus resurrected?
No, I said there's scientific proof. I
Yes,
didn't
what's
say
the
I had,
scientific proof that Jesus resurrected?
yeah, I didn't say I had a specific article. I said there's scientific proof where you can just go on Google and search it up.
But wait, I don't want to Google it. I want you to give me the source. I'm not going to do your job for you.
I mean, but you're the one who wants to know, like, whether
Well,
that
but
was
you're
true or
it's
not.
your burden to prove
No.
this to me. I'm not going to like take your word for it.
Well, you're not taking my word for it. You're searching up yourself.
Yeah, but I want you to give me the specific source. Like, I'm not gonna, because if I Google it and I find nothing, then what?
Then I'm gonna agree on whatever you say that.
Yeah, so I've
you
actually
didn't
already
know.
looked into this and I found literally nothing other than the Bible that claims that Jesus was resurrected. There's not a single thing.
And how am I supposed to know that's true? What you're saying right now? When you
I
have it
mean,
right
you can do
now.
the search yourself. I mean, if you don't, unless you have the evidence, I come to my conclusions based on evidence. If I don't have evidence, then I'm not going to conclude that something is true. If I don't have any evidence that that Jesus was resurrected, then I'm not going to believe that Jesus was resurrected. There's no evidence. It just didn't happen. Like, we really have no reason to think that it did.
Well, I don't know. I just go based on the Bible and what it says, and then on the archaeological evidence and
Yeah, so
scientific.
what's the archaeological evidence that Jesus was resurrected?
Well, for example, I seen that they found the nails that they crucified Jesus with.
Let's look into that.
And-
have
and
you
the
have you actually
sandals.
like looked into this claim before, or did you just hear this from like a different Christian?
No, I actually saw it. Like I
You
looked
actually
into
saw the nails themselves.
No, like I saw it on my phone. Like
Oh wait,
I
actually,
wasn't there looking.
no, this is like totally fine. Wait, I actually realized this actually doesn't prove that Jesus was the Son of God. So I agree, Jesus was crucified. Cool, sounds good. Why does that mean that he resurrected?
Okay, hold on.
Hey, Tashika, thanks so much for the raid. I appreciate you.
Hold on, give me a minute.
Welcome in, welcome in. I love all of you. But as y'all are coming in, make sure you're double tapping on that screen. Let's get to 200K likes. Hey, welcome on in. Welcome on in. All the Tashika viewers. I appreciate all of you. Thanks so much. And I appreciate you, Tashika. Huge W. So if you're just joining us now, we're currently waiting for the guest to provide us evidence, the archaeological evidence that Jesus rose from the dead. We're waiting. If I were a gambling person, I'd probably assume that the guest opened up Google, typed in
No, I got it.
archaeological evidence that Jesus resurrected and is about to come back with nothing. So let's see it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's up? What's the
All right.
evidence?
Yeah. Well, you want the article or that you
Yeah, I want the
go-
archaeological evidence that Jesus was resurrected.
Yeah.
I can't hear you if you're off the app, by the way. But make sure you double tap it on that
Okay.
screen.
His
Oh
name.
no, I'm sorry. Go for it.
It's named peacefulscience.org.
What's the name of the article? So peaceful science seems to be mission and values. Peaceful science fills a unique role in the conversation, intending to support trustworthy scientists as they engage with the public. Boop. I think that this is just a Christian website, to be clear. But what's the evidence? Can you give me the archaeological evidence that Jesus resurrected? What's the name of the article? Guessed? I mean, if you had the source pulled up, it should be like really quick to just like tell me the name of the article. I can't hear you if you're off the app. If you want to give me evidence, I'd love to hear it, but otherwise I should probably move on to the next guest. All right, well, I appreciate you coming on up. Make sure you're double tapping on that screen. Let's get to 210K. It seems like he had no archaeological evidence that Jesus was ever resurrected, which is true. There is no evidence that Jesus was resurrected, but drop a follow as well if you're interested, so you'll never miss a single live in the future. And you can also consider joining the Discord, link in bio. I would absolutely love to see you there. It's a great place. We talk about politics, religion, philosophy, really whatever you want to talk about. You need to access it with a web browser though, so just go to tiktok.com and go to allegedly Ian, and then you can access it via that web browser while we try to get another guest in. Damn, I'm out here casting like the widest net possible. I'm gonna cry, bro. But make sure you're double tapping on that screen while we try to get someone on here. Follow Discord or follow, comment, share it with your friends. Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Hello.
Do you think God is real?
Somewhat.
Do you have a religion? What do you mean by somewhat? I'm only really interested in like people who think that God is not that God actually is real.
Well, so I believe in God, but I just don't believe in Christianity or Judaism.
So what do you mean when you say God? And Tashika, thanks so much for the raid again. I appreciate it.
So as in, I say God as in an overwhelming, like, person overall, so to say.
Just like a grand old individual.
Kind of, but more of like, that's the like, yeah. It's more like,
If you can't give me a definition of God, then I need to move on to a different guest. Like if you want to defend your own God, which I already don't like, I need you to give me like a solid definition of your God and the properties that your God has.
it's more like as God is a creator of all.
Okay.
The
So
person that started off the beginning.
okay. So what evidence do you have that this God exists?
Well, there is proof.
Thanks so much,
around-
Tashika, for the raid.
There is proof like around the world, of course, of like many people being like, "Hey, God exists," but not all of them are like scientifically able to be proven. But there is,
So if I get like me and my friends together and we're like, yo, fairies exist, like snorks exist, leprechauns exist, does that mean if I get like a sufficient number of people, does that mean that these things actually exist?
not necessarily. I'm more
Okay,
saying.
so then why would you appeal to like just a large number of people saying that something exists in order to argue that God actually exists?
Well, it's not only like peace of mind,
So
but
it's
it's also there's not it's not like proof, but it's more as in witnessing. Like recently they found the biblical actual artifacts that were like, hey, this is what happened in the Bible, and like they were unchanged. It was the person that actually nailed it into the stone.
wait, so are you defending the Christian God? I'm confused. Do you defend the Bible or do you not defend the Bible?
Kinda. I don't believe in it fully.
So is your proof, so you're saying that there's archaeological proof. What is your archaeological proof specifically, and why does that mean that God is real?
So there's like the Old Testament. There's a bunch of pages that are like not pages, of course, they're stone, but they found them in like caves and stuff like that, and they went across. I forgot where it was, but they went across and tried to like excavate even more, and
Wait, but what was contained on these tablets?
the first tablet they found was the tablet of David and Goliath.
So it's just like an account of these. So they just found like an early version of the Bible or like an early version of like the Torah. Why does any of that
It's
mean
more
that
as if
God is real?
they wrote it while it was happening.
So how do you know that it was written while it was happening?
Because that's the person's back then job. If they didn't write what was happening, they would.
But how do you know that it's not just like a fictional thing that they wrote down not while it was happening? Like what about this would make you think that it was written while it was happening?
Because it was signed by I'm pretty sure it was signed. I'm not.
Who is it signed by?
It was some famous like scribe.
Signed in the stone?
Like not like I don't know. It was signed somewhere. I just know that it was signed on the stone or somewhere that it was some famous scribe that went around and wrote the stories of the Bible, but also upon doing that he saw the miracles, so he just would write them down as
This sounds like a whole bunch of nonsense. So do you have like an article that says as much?
I mean, you could look it up on YouTube. There's a bunch of stuff about
Yeah,
it.
so good source off the start, like right off the bat. But do you have like real evidence that this actually happened, that this was uncovered, that it was like signed by a famous scribe who just like went around chronicling all the miracles of the Bible?
If you
What a
look
crazy time to live that must have been.
If you look up the David and Goliath tablet, maybe.
Okay. David and Goliath tablet. What about it? So when I look up David and Goliath tablet, I don't get very much. I get David and Goliath from Tablet News. Yeah, I actually get nothing. I unironically get nothing if I search up David and Goliath tablet.
That's fantastic for mine. Oh, great. Oh, I'm sorry for wasting your time, then, man.
Okay. Well, no, it's okay. But make sure you're double tapping on that screen. Let's get to 230K likes. Drop a follow as well. You should consider joining the Discord. There's a link in my bio. We talk about politics, religion, philosophy. It really is whatever you want to talk about. I'm very active in the server. Server itself is very active. I direct at everyone every single time that I go live, so you'll never miss a live because I'll always directly notify you. I'm super active in these spaces, or like in my live. Dean, thanks so much for the roses. I appreciate it. Hey, what's up? How's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. How old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay. And do you think God is real?
Yes. So my background is I'm a conservative Baptist Christian.
Okay.
I believe the Bible is to be taken literally, not metaphorically.
No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that to yourself.
So you covered a lot, and you're very intellectual. So I do like how you do have background of the Bible as you argue your points. A few things that I'm going to fix. Some of the guys you had on. So the Bible that I use, the version is the King James version.
Wait. I just have to ask you. So in Genesis 1:6, it says that, or like 1:6 through 8, it says that God separated the water from the water, and with the vault called sky. So do you think outer space is water?
Say that once more.
Do you think outer space is water?
Do I believe outer space is water?
Yeah.
I do not.
Okay. The Bible says that outer space is water. In First Genesis, or no, not First Genesis. In Genesis 1:6 through 8, it says that outer space is water. That the stuff above the sky is water. If you think the Bible is to be taken literally and not metaphorically, then you have to be saying that you think outer space is water.
Actually, it says, let there be firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from waters.
Yep. And what's the firmament?
So essentially, it's water was the, in the void of darkness, water was after light and dark. Water was first.
Yeah, but I'm just asking you. So I'll read like 6 through 8. So God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day." So God is dividing like the waters below from the waters above with sky. So, do you think that outer space is water?
I'm sure water exists in outer space other than just Earth.
But would you think it would be if I said outer space is water? When I asked you earlier, do you think outer space is water? You had no problem saying no, you don't think outer space is water.
Well, what I was saying was outer space collectively is not all water, no. But does
Yeah.
water exist in outer space? Of course.
Yeah. So, and then we also know from the creation story that there's that from Genesis 1 verse 2 that God moved on top of the face of the water, that all there was water, that when God was creating the earth, he just separated the water below from the water above. So it seems like outer space couldn't be anything other than water.
That very well could be true.
Do you think
So-
so? Then you would think that outer space is not water, or that outer space is water, rather.
Yes, I assume yes. Yeah.
So you think outer space is water? Just to be clear.
Before it was formed, yes. Before God,
But right now,
Informed
like
it.
what changed? What was the difference?
the God's creation. So
So
I'm,
if-
I'm gonna pause this for a second, but just so I have a couple key points, not even just pure biblically based, but I believe there's evidence even in modern day that there has to have had a God in existence. For example,
Wait, I'm so sorry. I just want to like ask one more question, or maybe like a couple more questions before we
Sure.
move on to something else. So, if directly after the creation of the sky, it was like God made the sky by like separating the two waters. Why didn't the water then just like fall back down into it? Because like the sky is not like a hard object. You can travel through it.
so you're asking me based off of like physics why the water just didn't continually fall?
Yeah, so we had like this this massive water, and then God separated it with the sky. But of course, because there's still like so much gravity, why didn't the water just like fall down back into the atmosphere?
Unfortunately, I don't personally have an answer for that.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So what questions do you have for me?
Okay, so you were one of your talking points was like skin cancer and earthquakes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In a chronological order in the book of Genesis, when God initially created the earth, it was perfect, and what caused the imperfection was man's free will with the original sin.
So
And
with the
if you
sun.
read a
Oh,
little
I'm sorry.
farther-
No,
yeah.
finish.
If you read a little farther in the scripture, so you even went down to as far as how can God be moral if he forced them into a situation of immorality? Well,
Wait,
if you look,
let's just do one of these things at a time, because it seems like we're
okay.
yeah.
okay, yeah,
So you said that the earth was created perfect. Is there
Correct.
a difference between the sun and the earth?
no, the sun is also created perfect.
Okay. And was there like a fall on the sun? Did the sun also fall into sin?
No,
Okay. So did the sun gives out UV radiation, and it was intended to give out UV radiation?
correct, yes.
Okay. Why would God intend for the sun to give out UV radiation if he knew that humanity was going to fall when he was creating it, and that if it fell, that this sun, this UV radiation would now give us skin cancer? Why would he do that to us?
Because the punishment for all sin is death. So death of any form, whether it be natural causes, unnatural causes, that is our lifelong punishment of sin. And,
do you
and we don't blame God for that. We have to blame Adam and Eve for a lack of judgment with their free will. So when God created man, he gave him free will, and that was man's lapse of said free will that is now given us an eternal punishment in the Old Testament until you either provided a physical sacrifice, or in the New Testament you believe in God's Son Jesus, who was that perfect sacrifice. So when you were saying like you can't say God's true or God's just and God's moral, well, God.
Well, wait. But I have answers to all of this. So,
Okay,
you think that you're saying that the consequence of sin is death? So, do you think that it's justified to kill sinners?
Me personally,
For from God's perspective, is killing sinners justified?
yes.
So,
That
if you
is-
went out and killed a bunch of Muslims, would God think that that's justified?
No, because I'm using my lapse of free will in making a poor judgment.
Yeah, but you're saying
That's-
that the death of sinners is justified from God's perspective.
Yes,
So do you
because
disagree? Do you think that Muslims are not sinners?
I believe all are sinners, everyone.
Oh, wait. So then by this logic, from God's perspective, there's nothing wrong with killing anybody.
Well, we do all die a physical death. So everybody on the planet Earth receives the punishment of sin in some shape or form, because no one has been here everlasting.
So I think another thing that I think is like quite interesting about that, do you think it's justified to punish somebody who didn't do the violation for the crime of the violation? Like, oh, hey, thanks so much for the let 'em cook? I have no idea what that, but I appreciate it. Thanks for the gift. So do you think that it's justified to do this type of thing towards someone who didn't commit the sin in the first place?
No. So, it's actually explained in the New Testament that sin does not only harm those conducting the sin, but others around. So it even says, I'm ashamed to say I'm not versed enough in the Bible to give you the exact quote. It is in the New Testament, but basically it says that the repercussions of sin aren't just negated to who commits the sin. It says that friends, family, others around will also be are in potential or possibility to receive punishment for your sin.
So do you think that's a good thing?
Do I believe it's a good thing?
Yeah. Do you think collective punishment is a good thing, basically?
I do not, but
Okay.
I'm not God. So,
Oh, yeah.
I would
do you
argue
think that
I'm not always just. I'm not always fair. I have lapse of judgments myself.
So if you were
compare
like
me-
more just, if you were more just and more fair, you think you would believe in collective punishment?
So if you're asking if I was more just, if I was perfect, are you depicting the fact that I could be perfect? Is that
No,
what
no,
you're
I'm just
asking?
asking, like, is there like a threshold of like just and like goodness such that collective punishment like just all clicks into place?
Give me that one more time.
Yeah,
Give me that
yeah.
one
So
more-
if you is there like if I made you like infinitely good and infinitely perfect, would you suddenly be on board with collective punishment?
perfect, would I be okay with collective punishment?
Yeah.
So if we're depicting me as the creator, and I designed something for a specific purpose, and then I give said design free will to make its own decisions.
But I'm just asking you about like collective punishment because
Okay.
what is like at issue here is that God is punishing everybody for the sins of like a few people. I think this is like ridiculous and quite frankly like not possibly morally justifiable. And a great analogy for this, like let's say that I'm an all good father. I'm an all good, all loving father, and one day I catch I have two sons, and I catch my one son smoking a weed cigarette. So my punishment is to go into my other son's room and beat the fuck out of him. Would I be like an all loving, all good father in this instance?
Well, if that was in turn protecting him from future physical harm or from death, I mean, that would be that would be, even though it would be frowned upon in that notion, if it were for the greater good, then yeah, that would be justified.
To go in and beat the shit out of my son who wasn't even the one smoking it. Not to say that it would be justified to beat the shit out of the one who was smoking it, but
Right.
like,
I mean, we're both talking hypotheticals here as far as I'm a father of two
So,
children, so I
yeah,
would
but
never.
like you think,
I personally would never punish one child for something that my other child did.
of course, that
But-
seems like the obvious
we're-
like good thing to say, or like the good
Yeah.
thing to do.
Right.
I think it would
but
be
we're-
immoral to do otherwise.
But you're comparing a parent's singularity with their children to a natural occurrence on earth, and you're asking why natural occurrences are happening. Well, in the Bible it says after they sinned, the ground be curseth. And then it goes on to say that your future generations will be cursed. So I mean, based off of, the Christian belief, my belief is that Adam and Eve we were born into this punishment. So cancer, all forms of death are because of their lapse of judgment, not because God was immoral, not because God was unjust. It was mankind's lapse of judgment.
Yeah, so I just have no idea. Like, if a 6-year-old kid gets skin cancer and dies, I have no idea why it would possibly ever be just to punish them for the crimes committed by Adam and Eve, if I even grant that it happens in the first place. Like, who is the person, which entity chose the punishment at all?
Well, I mean, God chose the punishment for sin is death. You know what I mean? And in its broadest fashion, the punishment for sin is death. So
So then we would agree that God made the sun to emit, and like in such a way that it emitted UV radiation. Before he made the sun in this way, he knew that humanity was going to fall and that people were going to get skin cancer because he was going to allow them to get skin cancer because of a punishment. So God made the sun knowing that in the future it would give people skin cancer, and he could have made it differently, but he made it the exact same way. Is this an all good thing to do?
yes, because in its initial construction, it was perfect. Adam and Eve didn't acquire skin cancer. After the sin was committed, that's when death was brought into the picture. So in the initial,
Did God know that the sin was going to be committed?
yes,
Okay, so God knew that Adam and Eve were going to fall. He knew that when they fell, that they would get that humanity would be capable of giving skin cancer. And he knew that this doesn't necessarily have to be the case, that he could have made the sun in a different way, such that it wouldn't have given people skin cancer, but he made the sun in the exact same way. Thus, before Adam and Eve were even created, he made the sun to give people skin cancer as a punishment.
well, he didn't create the sun as strictly for punishment purposes. The
Yeah,
sun was
but there was like a
created to
punishing
promote
aspect
life.
to the sun that
So
he
actually,
that he knew it was going to be like dealt out.
So actually, the sun, in a sense, isn't a great example on your end, because too much of anything that is good for the human body is negative. So it's not just sunlight. Too much salt, too much of anything can kill the human body. It's all about balance. So
Do you think too much Christianity could kill the human body?
that wasn't very kind, but no, I don't. So
Okay, cool. So it seems like the principle you established isn't true.
now you're comparing physical elements with modern day Christianity. So it's you went from the sun to too much belief in something. I would argue an NFL football player probably believed from the minute they started playing football that they were going to be a professional. I don't believe overbelief in something is going to be able to kill somebody.
Okay, that's fine. But why would God want the universe to be in this way? Why would he want to allow the sun to do this to us at all? Like, why shouldn't we be able to just like hang out in the sun? Like, I can't even go to the beach with my friends for a day of fun without risking skin cancer.
Well, as said before, you can if you take the, if you prepare correctly and you take the. Now that's there's no 100% fail safe, of course,
Yeah.
but that derives back to that's because it's a punishment. So I can lay out in the sun and not get skin cancer, versus you may lay out for 15 minutes and get skin cancer. And I'm not saying that you would be more deserving of having it. I'm saying that it exists because it is part of the punishment for the original sin.
Why would God punish a 6-year-old with skin cancer for the original sin?
Because God is, it's God is just. I mean,
But I think that that's like a distinctly unjust thing to do. I think skin cancer is wait. So do you think that skin cancer is just?
No, I believe skin cancer is a result of sin.
Yeah, but why would God punish a 6-year-old with skin cancer? Why would he do that?
Because we are all born sinners.
In what way? So do you?
In what way?
Do you think being a sinner, like, do you think sin is an action, or do you think that it's like just something that you are and can never be avoided?
So sin is broken down into physical thinking. There's multiple forms of sin. Actually, the Bible has quite a few listed. Like I said, unfortunately, I'm not versed enough in the scriptures to give you the exact names for each, but they are broken down into types of sin. There's more than just one. But doubling back to your original question, when God initially created earth, death was not an option. It was man's lap in free will judgment that brought death upon the human race.
Could you explain to me like just what sin is? Like what is sin in like a general sense?
Sin in a general sense is anything that goes against the word of God.
Okay, so if people are born sinners, is our birth against the word of God?
Is our birth against the will of God? Is that what you're asking?
The word of God, or whatever your definition of sin is. Like, because you're saying that we're all born sinners, so I'm just curious. So you're saying that like our birth is like against the word of God?
No. Actually, the word of God says multiply and be fruitful, but when you are born, you come attached with that punishment of something that was a prerequisite.
So why would God do that to us?
Because his initial creation had a lapse of judgment.
And why would he set the
misused-
punishment? Why would he set the punishment as that?
Why would he punish
why would he
everyone?
punish all of humanity for the wrongdoing of like two people? Like, what does the 6-year-old with skin cancer have to do with Adam and Eve eating the fruit?
Well, they are, and the Christian faith, they are our ultimate ancestors. So
Yeah.
when, debt, even in the modern day, debt and other things like that can be passed down from family to family and maybe not as much as like corporal punishment, but like, you can see the effects of sin from family to family because a traumatic incident in someone's family can cause another traumatic incident as a response to what they had to deal with. So
So do you think it's if you killed my son, would it be just for me to kill your son?
in Old Testament, yes.
Does morality change?
No. Morality
Okay, so it's not just like in the Old Testament, yes. It's like, yeah, the answer is just yes.
No, because the men of the Old Testament were men committing these decisions, not God. So we're talking about, the tribe leaders and they were making kings were making decisions. These are men that have free will to make decisions with power. We're not talking about God. So The fact, see, this is kind of why I didn't want to really dive into the biblical sense initially. I kind of wanted to state a couple points of modern day proof that I believe God exists.
Well, this just seems like another pivot, but go for it. What's your modern day proof that it exists?
So like the fact that morality exists in general, that almost has. I mean, you know what I mean. The fact that the fact that there is a generalized moral code that had to start somewhere.
Yeah. So first of all, that's not true. There's not a generalized moral code. There are moral disagreements like fraught throughout, I don't know, like the philosophical field of ethics alone, but probably like definitely also throughout all of human history, we've disagreed about what is ethical and what is not ethical. We don't have one unified system of ethics, but even if we did, there's explanations that ethics came from evolution, that what is going to be considered ethical to humans is just going to be the things that allowed us to survive more efficiently. That, for example, it's humans live and die by our social structure. So things that are damaging to the social structure are going to be things that are like not selected for in natural selection, that it's not going to be selected for to want to like unalive the people who are in your tribe. It's not going to be selected for to want to like grape the people who are in your tribe. That these types of activities are going to ruin social structures, and thus these like it's just not going to be like a trait that's selected for.
So you're telling me that evolution is the reason that we. It's almost fair to say that universally murder is morally seen as incorrect. It's wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
You're saying,
but
you're telling me that evolution is responsible for the common conception that unaliving someone else is a wrong thing to do.
Yeah, can you give me a reason why it would be like evolutionarily advantageous to unalive your tribe members?
I mean, more wealth, more ground, ownership, property.
Yeah, but this is all going to come out because humans. Oh, sorry, I just got the low battery notification. These things aren't going to be able to be selected for specifically because concepts of like wealth and property only started existing in like the last like 10,000 years or so. The switch to agriculture has been relatively recent, and there's not enough time for evolution to have selected these things. Before that, we were hunterers and gatherers. So as like a bunch of hunter-gatherer tribes, and our ancestors were also a bunch of hunters and gatherers. So could you give me a reason why it would be advantageous for a bunch of hunterers and gatherers to be like killing each other?
Well,
like people specifically who are in their own group.
Okay, so people that are in their own group, let's say specifically that you and I are in two separate groups, and
but I'm talking about like people in your own group.
Excuse me, yeah, I misspoke. So you and I are in the same group, but you were not my brother, you were not my father, you were not any direct lineage of me. We're just in the same group. Well, I have children that I have to feed, and let's say that I have more children than I can. The load of me providing is more than I can handle on my own. So that would cause, how do I want to say this? Personal greed would cause me for me to have more to provide for what I care about. Could be a motive, and it could be an alternative motive to unalive somebody that would be possibly in the same tribe.
No. So the reason why it would actually be quite the opposite is specifically because if you're unaliving people who are in your own tribe, then you're actually going to have like fewer people to hunt and gather. There's going to be fewer people who are able to like feed the family, feed your children. Like this person is already like a full ass adult. They should definitely be able to like help and assist, and there's been like a lot of resources already poured into them. It would be extremely inefficient to take their lives. Like insofar as they're working in the first place, it's going to be seen as wrong by everybody because it's just like bad for the tribe as a whole. That if there are fewer people hunting and gathering, then it's much more likely that your tribe is going to die. Thanks so much for the roses. I appreciate it.
So, but you were saying the majority would still see it as wrong because it's less beneficial to the group and as a whole.
Yep.
Correct?
Yeah, that
Yes.
just like the innate sense that like taking the life of people in your in group is going to be seen as wrong by everybody could have just been like the result of evolution, because it makes sense evolutionarily that because humans live and die by our social structures. Like our social structure is everything to us. That's like we have these big complex societies. We're extremely social animals. We all have lots of friends, right? Like it's
Right.
evolutionarily disadvantageous to be taking the lives of our pals.
Well, I agree with that, of course. What I'm saying is there is a reason that everyone in the group feels that way. And it's not just, I believe it's not just brought down to mathematics. Well, now
Thanks
there's
so much
less,
for the corgi. I appreciate it.
now there's less hunter and gatherers. I believe that there's something inside that tells us that that's morally wrong. So,
Yeah. Yes, and I think that thing is the reason we feel that way is because it's evolutionarily advantageous for us to feel that way. That if we feel a strong aversion to unaliving the people around us, that we're going to not unalive the people who are around us. And if we don't unalive the people who are around us, it's going to make us much more likely to survive, reproduce, and like raise our kids in a functioning society.
so in a logic manner, I don't see how that makes more sense than God giving morals, because I mean, so what I was kind of getting at is the multiple things that I see in today's everyday life.
Wait. I do just want to explain that because you're about to move on to something else, and that's like totally fine.
Okay.
But I do
Sure,
just
sure.
want to explain. So the reason why having an alternate account means that there's no reason to posit the existence of a God. If we can explain everything with nature, then why would we want to posit the existence of nature plus God?
Well, see, I don't believe you can explain
Yeah,
morality.
yeah, sure. So give me the thing that I can't explain via like natural causes.
Well, I mean, just morality in general, just as a concept. Because
Yeah, morality as a concept came from evolution, is how I could. That's what I could appeal to.
well, that's assuming that evolution was in fact correct.
Evolution was correct. There's like an overwhelming amount of evidence for it.
I mean, you're talking man-made or man-comprehended evidence. So when it comes down to legitimacy, I could say evolution happened, and that wouldn't make it true.
Yeah, but we have like a fossil record with ways of reliably measuring and dating the fossil record to figure out exactly how old every single fossil is, like plus or minus a slight variation. And we can see the progression of these fossils. That fossils go from like really old and like really simple to much more complex and a lot bigger.
So if that be the case, then why aren't we seeing occurrences of that in a more modern day setting? Why is that all
Because evolution
prehistoric
happens
times?
over a very long period of time. It took millions of years for evolution to actually take place and to evolve to the states that we're currently in.
But don't you? What I'm asking is, wouldn't you see evidence of physical evolution in modern day time? Like, wouldn't you see?
I mean,
Even
humans are still
even
evolving.
though it's a ridiculously long process, and the average person may live to 100 years old. I mean, that's kind of a broad age, but so wouldn't we have concrete physical evidence now that evolution is still happening?
Oh, we do. Yeah. I mean, like it is still happening, but we can prove like the existence of like evolution in a lab pretty easily. You can. So the reason why we can't see it like readily available in humans is because human lifetimes are very long. But if you look at a creature who has like a much shorter lifespan, you would notice that like natural selection is a thing that happens. That the things that survive are going to be the things that are good at surviving and reproducing. The genetics that get passed down are going to be exactly those genetics. So if you take like a petri dish full of like germs or whatever, or bacteria, and you put like antibiotics, you could see after a number of generations they're starting to develop resistances to these antibiotics. They're evolving in real time.
Okay. So you're basically saying because we do have like our bodies are advanced enough that we can evolve. We can evolve that guarantees that we had to evolve from something else.
I'm not sure I understand what you just said.
So basically, you were using like germs as an example, like our immune system being able to adapt to the environment.
No, not really. No. It's just that if we took like a petri dish full of bacteria, like if we look at like bacteria themselves, but we introduced like some antibiotics into this like group of bacteria, over time, over like a number of generations, this bacteria is going to evolve to be more resistant to these antibiotics. Evolution is something that's like readily available that we can just like see and verify in real time.
Okay. So in that aspect, I guess you got me there. So what my basis comes down to as far as creation is faith, which I know isn't substantial when we're talking about logic. So the next topic I'd like to address, if you're ready to move on, would be like some of the other things you see in modern day society that I don't believe can be explained by scientific logic. It would be like life only coming from life, unconditional love, and then like free will as a whole. So
let's start with life only comes from life. Do you think God is alive?
Yes.
Okay. So in what sense is God alive?
Well, God exists based off of the Christian faith, of course. God exists in a three in one. It's referred to as the Trinity: God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. So when God had taken form of His Son, he took the physical life aspect. So that's why you can answer.
So is the Father alive?
Yes.
Okay. So in what sense is the Father alive?
I mean, he's the creator. So he was always there, and then started creation. That's the
but why would that mean that something is alive? Like why? What property are you appealing to say that God is alive? Like what's the thing that makes something alive or not alive?
I guess I'm bringing that point back to more like modern terms. Everything we see in today's daily life comes from pre-existing life.
Yeah, but it seems like I'm not sure in what sense God would be alive, because he doesn't have like biological life. That if you're bringing it to modern terms, we see biological life coming from biological life, but I don't think God is biological life.
Well, in the Christian faith, he is when he takes the role of his Son, when he's Jesus Christ.
but the Father himself, you'd say that the Father is alive, but the Father is not like biological life, and also the Father is the one. Unless I'm mistaken about the Torah or like Genesis, the Father is the one who's like doing all the stuff. He's the one like creating life in the first place. So
correct. So one could argue that creation can only come from a creator.
Sure. So I would just say that the creation can be, and creator could be like an abstract term as well, that something can come from a natural creator, and the creator doesn't need to be like an entity. So it's just going to be like kind of a definitional dispute, but there's like lots of hypotheses for how we went from non-life to life in the first place anyway. Like abiogenesis is the leading hypothesis for how all this stuff happened. But I also don't know. So when you say that God is alive or that the Father is alive, what do you mean by that? Like what definition of life does God fit under?
I believe he's omnipresent, and I mean he's among us. So it
doop,
actually
doop 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 doo.
Say that again?
I'm sorry. No, nothing. It was just never mind. No, it was sus, but so you're saying that like something is alive if it's omnipresent?
No. So I'm saying based off of what I see, even if I were to take the Bible completely out of my upbringing, if I were to assess my creation based off of my only knowledge and what evidence is provided to me in my lifespan, life only comes from life.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just like, what's your definition of life?
I mean, it's a living matter. It's you know what I mean.
Is the Father a living matter?
He takes form of living matter when he becomes his son.
Wait, so you think that the Father is the Son?
Yes, all three are one. That's the Christian faith. That's depicted in Christianity, that all three are one.
Wait, so you think the Trinity, that why do you need three things if they're all one?
Why do I need it? Or
Yeah, like because if the Father is the Son, and the Son is the Holy Spirit, presumably, that like if they're all each other, then why even make the distinction at all?
to provide us the availability to endure everlasting life based off of faith after the initial sin was caused.
But this doesn't really seem to be answering the question, because the question just is like a question of the Trinity. So if you think that like all of these aspects of God are like just are each other, because my understanding of the Trinity was that all three of them are God, but none of them are each other. That the Father is not the Son, that the Son is not the Holy Spirit, that the Father is not the Holy Spirit, etc. It's my understanding that that's what the Trinity is. But like despite that, like all three of them are God, but none of them are each other.
Correct. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I and amongst my rambling, I may have misconstrued what I was trying to say. But yes. So they are all God, but they are all separate entities.
Yeah, so the entity of the Father, because you said that life is just going to be like living matter, but of course the Father isn't living matter. Unless you think that like the Father has like a physical body.
I'm not going to be able to tell you how I stand as far as the Father having a physical body. I just know from my studies and upbringing, based off of my faith, that the embodiment of God is Jesus, his Son, and that was the life. That is the form of life that God had taken. Now, what you're asking is, do I believe God the Father was life? No.
Okay. So then this would be an instance. That's actually perfect, because this gets me completely out of the argument, because you would then be conceding that life actually can come from non-life, because if life came from God and the Father is not life, he's not then we would be saying that in this instance, this is like an instance of life coming from non-life.
Well, yes, I would be saying that only God can create life from non-life. Is basically what I'm saying.
Okay. But it seems like it's possible that life comes from non-life, which is what we both agree. Like, I think that, I mean, I don't agree that God is the only source of it, but it seems to be that we can have life come from non-life. So it seems like there's no problem or like contradiction with this.
Correct. As far as in the beginning, what I'm saying now is life only comes from life. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that to me is proof that there is a God, because if it was a natural phenomena that life had started from non-life, one would think that could happen again.
I mean, like, I guess it could, yeah, but it's like unlikely.
You would think that if the Big Bang had happened and life had started from an initial non-life, then one would logically be able to think that at some point down the line that again life could be constructed from non-life, and to my knowledge that has yet to happen. And
yeah, but we are working on that right now. I mean, I think that it would be silly to say that because we haven't reproduced life from non-life means that it couldn't have possibly happened. That I think that this physical explanation is one that we're working towards every single day, and that we get closer to every single day as well. But I think that there's probably going to come a time in science where we can make life from non-life, like directly. And that's the leading theory. Like, we've proven a lot of the various steps of abiogenesis, even if we haven't proven the existence of like abiogenesis itself. But I'm not sure what like step or property we're missing exactly. But regardless, I don't think that this is any evidence against, or that this is any evidence against the idea that life could have easily come from non-life. And I mean, also, that is what you agree that you believe. You also believe that life came from non-life.
Yes. So my argument here is that only an entity could have caused that, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. Because like I said, maybe 300 years down the road, I'll be proven wrong and we will be able to construct life from non-life.
But are humans an entity?
No. So that would
Humans are not an entity. Oh, did you just mean like only a god could? Why could only a god
Yes.
be the
Yes.
source of life?
Because that is considered only a god. Let me rephrase. Only a god can construct life from non-life. That's
Okay,
the
but
point.
why can't we
That's the
just have
point
like
I'm
life come from non-life?
I don't have an answer for that, but it doesn't happen. Is the point that I'm making? Is the point
So
that
I
I'm
can just
making?
say that it's like a rare occurrence, but the conditions were just right. That's the leading hypothesis.
Exactly. It's so what I'm saying is like, how is it more logic? Not even. Well, I guess I'll entail this specifically to you. In your mind, how is it more logic to understand that it could have just happened just because, as opposed to a creator making it happen? Like, how is that more logically sound in your mind? Not like I'm not insulting you.
No, I know you're not. So the
so,
reason why
like-
it's more like, the reason it makes more sense to me is just going to come down to simplicity. It's Occam's razor that all else equal, we should be preferring the explanation which tries to explain things with like the fewest number of entities. That instead of saying that there's like this God and these angels and like heaven and hell and like all this other stuff, I can just say that like there's the universe, and the universe has these like natural properties, and that one of these natural properties, or like some of the natural properties, could possibly result in the advent of life, and then in very rare cases it's going to, and then that's where life came from.
Okay, so you kind of summarized your side of it in a way, and I know you're doing that for time's sake because I've been on here a while. But so as far as a logical aspect, though, when it's not broken down as simply as, well, life can just come from non-life and things could have just happened, so you know that was just the Big Bang, and then you're talking about all of the factors that would have to align for evolution to take place into the fact that we can grow from where we started to who we are now. Like, there's so many factors that are involved in just evolution alone that it's not simple. So like there's you know what I mean? Even outside environment will affect how something evolves. So you can't really say that believing in heaven and hell and the angels and that's too much to believe in when you're willing to go to the lengths to believe that all the factors were aligned perfectly for us to naturally get to where we are today from where we started.
The fact that there's a natural mechanism means that the only entity, I'm actually only appealing to one entity, nature, whereas you need to appeal to two entities, nature and also supernatural stuff. There's just like a difference insofar as two is more than one. Your worldview is just going to be like more complex for like kind of no reason. Like, I can say that the universe is very big and that unlikely events are going to happen because there's so many opportunities for unlikely events to happen. And I think like a really great analogy for why we should be preferring like simplicity over anything else is, or like a lot of other things, is that the simple explanation is going to be better. And I'll give you like a great analogy. So let's say you have 10 bad Mondays in a row. Now you can either say that these bad Mondays happened because of like natural causes, like maybe you got a change in bosses and your boss now like sucks on Mondays and it's just terrible. Or you could say that it's just a coincidence, like coincidentally, like bad Mondays happen. It's possible for 10 bad Mondays to happen in a row, certainly. Or you could say you could appeal to some supernatural force. You could say, I had 10 bad Mondays in a row because of the Bad Monday Fairy. The Bad Monday Fairy exists, and they're fucking with me. But that's nonsense. There's no reason to believe in like a Bad Monday Fairy. It's a supernatural explanation that, sure, I guess would explain why you had 10 bad Mondays in a row, but it's just like wholly and completely unnecessary when there's like natural explanations readily available.
Well, you're kind of misconstruing the Christian faith there when you compared it to the fairy. So, at least in my belief, in my case, if I were to experience 10 bad Mondays in a row, it would cause me to reevaluate the decisions that I had made in that time frame, and ask myself, is there anything that I would have done that would have caused me to have bad Mondays continually? Is there something
Yeah, exactly.
that I
Yeah,
may
there's
have
yes,
done?
exactly. There's a naturalistic explanation for it, so you should prefer the naturalistic explanation rather than preferring like the supernatural explanation.
Well, I'm talking as almost in terms of a free will choice that I made. So am I having bad Mondays because I chose the wrong career? And even though that it's a good job, I despise it because it's not for me. Though that job existed whether I worked there or not. But the fact that I chose to take that job that wasn't with my expertise or wasn't with what I like, that is a fault on me as a fault of my judgment and free will.
Wait, so I think that this isn't, but you would agree that you wouldn't appeal to a supernatural entity as being like the cause of your 10 bad Mondays.
What I would be saying is
Yeah, like you wouldn't explain it with the Bad Monday Fairy, that's for sure.
no, but I would explain it with I may have done something
Yes,
that
yeah, but this is a natural explanation. This is like what I'm advocating for, that you can give a natural explanation for these type of phenomena, and you should prefer giving the natural explanation to giving like the supernatural explanation, because if a natural explanation suffices, then there's really no reason to posit the existence of like metaphysical entities who are interacting with the physical world for whatever reason. Like, it's just a matter of simplicity. Like, it's just much simpler to say that, well, it's just a coincidence, or like maybe I made a bad decision on all these Mondays and that's why I'm having 10 bad Mondays, rather than appealing to the supernatural justifications of, well, I had 10 bad Mondays in a row because the Bad Monday Fairy exists and she's fucking with me. Like, we're just going to prefer the natural explanation. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yes, well I mean that's how our minds work. So we as humans we thrive off of logic. So I mean you and I will come to that conclusion because that is hardwired into our brain. That's how we work. But what I'm saying is, as at the Christian faith, you would have to assess your life and assess the decisions that you made and ask yourself, am I being punished for something that I've done in the workplace or a decision that I made before I got to work that day? Or so, you know what I mean? So that's
Sure.
where
No, but this doesn't like actually, it doesn't actually get to the point of the analogy. Like, the point of the analogy literally just is like, full stop, we're going to prefer natural explanations. So the reason why I would prefer the explanation for like abiogenesis over the explanation that God just like poofed all of humanity into existence, or all of the beings into existence, is just that there's no reason to think that. If the natural explanation suffices, then there's no reason to rely on the supernatural explanation.
well, my argument is that it's the natural explanations that you're citing aren't concrete. And I mean, there's obviously some evidence where someone saw it and then made a hypothesis and then labeled that down as their theory of why that happened and why these look this way and why, but that's all off of human comprehension. And you discussed before with someone else that our comprehension of the world is 1,000th of the reason way things are. So basically what I'm saying is you're basing your viewing off of, how do I want to say this, an educated individual that found some evidence that supports their hypothesis.
Okay.
So what makes that any more logically sound?
Because there is evidence
than the men that also made the same, than the men that panned the Bible, who to them, how do I say this? How
Evidence.
is his work?
The answer is evidence. The difference between this is that there's evidence for abiogenesis. There is not evidence that God just poofed everything into existence.
You got me talking here now. I've lost my train of thought. But so well, I'll even concede to you and say that you won that debate. If you would like to move to my next point.
Sure. What's your next point?
So like another thing I believe exists that can only be God given is I'm just going to spit out two real quick, but free will and unconditional love.
Oh, so I don't believe free will is real. I'm a determinist. So unless you wanted to do the free will debate, but unconditional. What do you mean by unconditional love?
Love that is intact and remains despite what conditions are outside of said love.
So do you think that there's like some love where like literally nothing that they could ever possibly do would make you like not love them anymore?
So as a parent, I want to say no. I pray that I never have to experience something traumatic enough in my children's lives that I might have to throw the possibility of not loving them as a outcome. But as a parent, at least at this moment in my life, I can truly say that I can't see them doing anything that would make me not love them. Now I would be, you know, if they committed crime or made atrocious decisions, I would turn away from that, and don't let me misquote myself here. I wouldn't turn away from my children. I wouldn't dispose of them. But what I would say is basically I'm not going to support the negligent decisions that they're making, but I still believe just because I don't support what you're doing or the decisions that you made, that's not going to hinder my ability to unconditionally love my children. At least at this aspect.
Let's say that
my kids are 5 and 4, so I'm in a very, very early stage of parenthood. So, you know, there's nothing my 5 and 4-year-old can do that's going to make me not love them. But
no, of course.
When they become adults, I can't say for that down the road, but I would like to think that like mother's unconditional love, father's unconditional love, I truly believe they do exist.
Okay, so you believe, where exactly, could you just give me like a definition of unconditional love? Like, I just want to make sure that I understand what you're saying. Is this just going to be like love that exists no matter what, like for an entity, no matter what that entity does? So essentially, yes. I mean, you know, unconditional love by definition is no matter the conditions, that love remains intact. Okay.
So, I mean, you know what I mean? So like, you know, I
could you give me an instant, like what's an instance of unconditional love? Like, how do I know if something is unconditional love or just love?
I can't say any specific cases and stuff, but you know, there are like, let's just, serial unalivers. I imagine, or I've seen cases where the parents of a serial unaliver still loves that child, even though they've done the most atrocious thing morally that we can think of, and they completely disregard it, and they blame themselves in most cases. But like, I truly believe that even in those moments, that mother still loves that child, even though it had done something she never thought it was capable of.
Yeah. Okay, wait, why does this mean that God is real?
I believe God created unconditional love. I don't believe that's something that we could have adapted in evolution.
Sure. So we know like there's like an evolutionary basis for the existence of love, right? Like that this is just going to be like brain chemistry and like neurochemicals coming together. That is going to allow us to form stronger bonds with each other in our societies, that it's evolutionarily advantageous to be able to have love for specific things, especially specific things that are close to you, because they're close to you. Like, evolutionarily, it's more likely that your kids are going to survive if you love them. And it seems to be like a good explanation for the existence of love and like unconditional love between parent and child.
You are very good at this, and I admire you for that. So, what you're saying is based off of just your surroundings that could naturally help you to perform love.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, because evolution selects for things that are good at surviving and good at reproducing. It's going to be good for survival if you love your kid unconditionally. It's like more likely that your kid is going to be able to spread their own genes if you're ready, or if you love them basically no matter what happens.
Okay, correct. Now, I know you said you didn't really adhere to it, but I'm going to dash that with a little free will. So I would also argue that there are many children, even in today's time, that don't receive unconditional love, and that's a act of free will to not do so. Because if it was just evolutionarily based, theoretically everybody would have absolute unconditional love, because there would never be a reason to not have unconditional love.
I mean, I guess you actually raised a really interesting point, but kind of in like a way that you're probably not going to like very much. So, working within your worldview, you're saying that free will does exist. So I think that leads to a contradiction, because in your worldview, couldn't love, like unconditional love, just be a result of free will, that no matter what happens, people just choose to continue to love their child? Like, if you think that free will exists, then it seems like the existence of unconditional love could just easily be explained by saying that they're freely choosing to love their kid and to continue loving their kid.
So I can see how you would make that correlation. And as a parent, it's hard for me to explain it and convey it, but I don't believe free will is the reason for unconditional love. So I believe there are cases even now where, how do I want to say this? I guess the absence of it, to me, proves that free will alone exists, because there are cases where kids aren't receiving unconditional love, and there are cases where, it's the exact opposite. So I would say I would attempt to debunk that theory by saying that. Oh, yeah, here's one of my kiddos now. What's wrong, buddy? So what I would say is I would kind of debunk that by saying that the fact that there is absence of unconditional love all over the world, that free will has to exist, because in a standpoint of biological benefit and evolutionary benefit, there would be no reason not to have unconditional love throughout the entirety of time. There would be no benefit to not unconditionally loving everyone around you, because that would be world peace. That would be better for everybody. So the fact that that's not the case that we live in, I feel that's almost scientific and logic proof that, unconditional love has to come from a higher power, because if it was something that was just naturally produced, we would live in a world that had no wars, no disagreements. I mean, we would all, you know what I mean? I'm wording this incorrectly, but we would all adhere together, and we would all work together, and everything would be perfect. But
So when I say that evolutionary, or that unconditional love could just be the result of evolution and evolutionary factors, this is not saying that every single person would therefore experience unconditional love. Like, for example, I don't know, like being like 8 foot tall, or let's do like 6'8". Being 6'8" is the result of like evolutionary factors, but not everyone is 6'8". So some people are going to be that, and similarly, some people can experience unconditional love, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like every single person needs to experience unconditional love.
Correct, but what I'm saying is you use height as an example. If 6'8" was from evolutionary factors, and the idea is that we all came from the same original start, why isn't everyone 6'8" then?
Yeah, because there's like differentiation and like different speciation. Because the way that traits evolve is that they evolve via mutations. That we have mutations in our cells and our genetics, which grants the existence of like new traits, basically. Some of these traits are useful for survival, and the traits that are useful for survival or reproduction are going to be selected for, whereas the traits that are neutral are eventually going to be weeded out, and the ones that are detrimental to survival are going to be weeded out much quicker. Being 6'8", so the reason that we're able to do that, I'm sorry, I have terrible ADHD. And I get distracted by like the crying, but that's not like no critique towards your son. I'm just getting like a little bit distracted.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my son's
No.
wilding out right now. Give me just 1 second.
Yeah.
Tell you what, if you would
Yeah,
like to
take-
pause me and give me a few minutes, I can come back if you'd like to give someone else a chance.
Yeah, although I'll probably end stream because I usually end stream like 22 minutes ago, but
Okay.
yeah, maybe tomorrow, or actually I'm doing a different topic tomorrow and Saturday, maybe on like Sunday, or but I don't know. No,
I'll tell you what,
we'll
if you
talk
don't mind,
again in the future. I'll look for you.
Absolutely. I'll add you, and you can add me back, and we can debate
Yeah,
at a
for
further
sure.
time if you'd like.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. This was a really great conversation.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on up. Hey, thanks everyone so much for stopping by. I love each and every one of you, all 1.2 thousand of you. Is there a place where I can send you? Well, it sure as hell isn't Q-Top. After I'm done, you should definitely go and raid Dr. Blitz. His profile is just Blitz PhD. But before you do that, let me read like the outro really quick. So thanks so much for coming by. You should drop a follow so you never miss a live stream in the future at any point. I'd absolutely love to see each and every one of you in my next one. But while you're here, consider joining the Discord. Join the community. There's a link to the Discord in my bio, although you do need to access it via a web browser. I would love to see you there. The way you do that is you go into tiktok.com and you go to allegedly.ian. That's my profile. And then you can join Discord through there. We talk about politics, religion, philosophy. Server's very active. I'm very active in the server. I love talking. I love debating with it. If you're someone who's like unable to debate here for whatever reason, I'd be happy to debate you there. We can discuss ideas. We can really do whatever. I would love to see you there. Again, I direct at everyone every single time that I go live, so you'll never miss a live because you'll always be notified. Consider joining the community, as many already have. I love each and every one of you. Thanks so much for showing by or for stopping by. I hope all of you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, as the present to you. So now, baby, please take a screenshot.